Chimolohong and what your entrepreneurs are doing on the waste management field?
Hi, everyone. Mia here from Chimolohong Precinct. So what Chimolohong Precinct is, sorry, I just want to swap around between no, I'll just keep doing it on my phone. So what Chimolohong Precinct is a digital innovation precinct owned by Wits University in Johannesburg, University of the Witwatersrand. And the 8 entrepreneurs that we have in the Chimolohong team for the Blue Ocean Corner program is a combination of various industries, waste management, energy, education. Who else is there now? Sorry, it's just slipped my mind now. But yeah, with Klulani working in waste management. Sorry, Awan, I just need to look at that screen again before I can share more of Tulani's solution. Let me just go check it quickly, and then I will give you guys more info.
Yeah, maybe we can ask Tulezogo to introduce Tuxnovation. I see you are connected. Hi, Lezogo. Tuxnovation, the incubator of the University of Pretoria. Yeah, Lezogo, are you here? Yeah, maybe she's not available. But I will let also George and Jason introduce themselves, as Roch and Hendrik don't know you. Jason, you want to start?
Jason Hunter, I think we've met.
Yeah, we can hear you. It works.
And yeah, so we've been involved with Blue Ocean Corners since the start, and great to meet you all. George?
George Eapen. I've also been involved with the corner since the beginning, but Jason and I go back to the year 2000, and we've been working together on and off. Sounds like history, but yeah. But yeah, this is, sorry.
Yeah, but part of our history is goes beyond the book. It goes into applying what we.
Yeah, the practice rather than the theory.
Mm-hmm.
But this idea of applying it to the challenges of a city make it a much wider canvas.
Indeed, and we've applied it from, I spent a number of years in Malaysia applying it to the government of Malaysia. Spent 3 years in the Obama White House applying it to how do we create better higher education. So yeah, so what our experience comes from is actually applying Blue Ocean strategy as opposed to just talking about it. So that's our background.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe Mia, she's back. You are back.
Hi. Yes. Sorry, as you were asking me that, I was just I was elsewhere.
Surprise.
Surprise. So yes, to the gentleman I'm meeting with now, it's great to meet you. And yes, Klulani was one of our entrepreneurs, not currently on the call, unfortunately, Matnergy works in waste eco mining, and also looking into drone tech for waste separation. So the one being the going concern and the one being a new innovation that they're looking at.
Thank you, Maya.
Cool.
I think it's good to give some some details about who we are, what we are doing, and to Roch and Hendrik. And also, Komo Geleng, maybe you want to say some words about your project related to the waste management, the bicycling.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So my project related to waste management is a bicycle manufacturing. It's focused on same customers, but we wanted to use waste plastic to manufacture the bicycles. So the aim was to reduce plastic in the landfills, therefore reducing landfills. So that is why I'm interested in this session. Thanks.
Thank you, Komo Geleng. I don't know if Les Ego, you are back. You are available, Les Ego from Toxnovation. Some students, some entrepreneurs are unable to join us because of load shedding. In South Africa, there is a big one now. But Bongi Kosi, don't worry, there will be the video replay on YouTube. Les Ego, if you are here, please let us know. Okay, so yeah, it's a pity, this load shedding things. So we'll start. So this afternoon, we have two sessions with our guest speakers. The first one here with Roch and Hendrik. Maybe it will be also Stephen from VEOLIA, because he has load shedding also issues on his side. We thought it would be interesting to have it on the water and waste management, recycling, as Roch can say a lot about recycling and how to change an industry and to consult and to bring consulting to an industry to transform it into a zero waste industry. With PANDOBAC, they won the Blue Ocean Award for that, and also connected to three of the six paths: alternatives, decision chain, and time train. So I will let just right now Hendrik introducing himself, and then Roch. Hi, Hendrik.
Alban, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry, Alban. Yes, I'm Hendrik. I work for VEOLIA Services Southern Africa. I'm here at the project services side of the business. So basically, we would do specialized designs for clients up in Africa or in Southern Africa. Currently busy with a design for clients in I don't want to lie, Zambia. So yeah, actually my background is bulk water. I only recently moved over to wastewater, but I mean, water is water. So I'm here if you have any questions.
Thanks a lot, Hendrik. And Roch.
Yeah, hello. So I'm a French entrepreneur, and PANDOBAC goal is to remove the waste before it is produced. We are working on the reusable packaging, so that when a wholesaler delivers some food to restaurants, they don't have to use disposable packaging. So the main example is to transport fish from the wholesalers to the restaurants. They used to use polystyrene disposable boxes. So we propose them some services to prevent the use of those boxes. So we rent boxes. We rent crates, reusable crates. We wash those crates, and we also sell tools to track the crates and help their reusability.
I think it will be very interesting to have you discussing this waste management time trends and alternatives. Also, we'll have in 1 hour, Anne Lebreton, she will join us in 1 hour at 3. So here it's to start. We have identified there. It will be very interesting to have you discussing about sustainability, industry, water and waste management, of course, and maybe with a focus on the time trends. So where these industries are going in the future. It can be sociology, economy, technology. In terms of alternatives, what would be the other industries or other solution which could be seen as an alternative to this industry? And decision chain, it means who are the people who are deciding, who are influencing, so influencing the final user, the final decider. So maybe, I don't know, maybe let's start with time trends. Roch, Hendrik, what do you see on the waste or water management or sustainability as future next step?
But in France, there is a big trend in plastic bashing, and a lot of companies try to show that they are marketing their branding their products by saying that they don't use plastic, or they try to use recycled plastic. So with this, there are also laws. The government tries to say we are listening to these trends, and we are pushing laws to forbid, or in some case ask the one who creates disposable plastic to pay some extra taxes. So we have these big trends of moving away from single-use plastic, so that push recycled product or reusable product, which is the best solution in our point of view.
Thanks, Hendrik.
Alban, yes, perhaps to just repeat what Roch said there. There is a big push, perhaps not in Southern Africa or South Africa that much. I know it's something we obviously need to look at, but out of a water point of view, I think water management is a big problem. Speaking from experience and what I've seen, it's something definitely we need to draw the attention to in South Africa. I think that would be a big win, or don't want to call it a trend, but it would be a trend if we can get the people to start just looking after a very scarce resource. I think that's VEOLIA, so hopefully taking sort of the lead, showing people that A, you need to look after your water, but B, there's a solution. There's good wastewater management, and if you look after your water, it can be only beneficial for the whole community.
So, so you mean, yeah, water, you need to consider water in any from any sources and any use as a
Yes,
rare resource?
perhaps it's something, yes, it's obviously fresh water, but obviously something that other countries is doing that we are not doing is like desalination of seawater. Hence, it's expensive, but it's definitely an option. And I believe that's going to be a trend going forward, especially for the coastal cities in Southern Africa. It's something they have to sort of keep an eye on. Clean water, or let's say fresh water, is not it's not an endless. There's not an endless supply. At some point, we'll head to some sort of a turning point. And these options will start becoming a reality in the near future, I believe. Obviously, with that said, and climate change also playing a big part in that. So yes, definitely, a scarce resource we need to look after, and innovation is critical in that aspect.
Yes, it seems that we are realizing that the world has physical bounds, so that any resource must be managed in this way. So it's true for plastic, it's true for water, and it's also true for land use, and you cannot dump waste anywhere because one day you will have to pay the price if you because the world is not is bounded. There are limited capacity to absorb waste and to find new resources.
Some reactions or questions from the entrepreneurs, and Jason, George, of course. Feel free to ask your questions. Coaches also, everybody can react. Jason, George, you have some reactions on these trends?
Good in my end, I think you just need to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. What do you mean, Jason? You don't know deep?
What I mean is, as far as non-customers go, who is defying you? Who is going to other alternatives? That's where you need to kind of dig a little bit deeper and understanding their decision of which way to go. So at this stage, I mean, if it's really, I think you really need to push out a little further in waste management. It's a universal issue. So who does it best? Who does it differently? How do people deal with waste outside of the traditional usage?
I'm not sure to really understand if the question addresses to me or not, but
Both of you.
PANDOBAC tries to avoid the waste in the first place by showing that you can use reusable packaging.
Indeed. Yeah.
So we try to to show that it's economical and it's also safe. So that, and it is not more complex. Let's say, I won't say simpler, but not more complex to use reusable packaging. I see there is a question in the chat that asks, who's my non-customers? The thing about disposable packaging is that it's easy in a way that you don't have to care about the reuse part. So if you are selling some products abroad, where the packaging will go very far and maybe in a foreign country, here it's really complicated to deal with the moving container to put it back into the hands of a new user. So if you are an international company, you can manage to handle this. But in our case, as we are still very local, when a customer sells his products abroad, we don't we cannot address him. So for instance, in France, there are some a lot of French chefs who open restaurants abroad. When they want to show in their restaurant, they order the food from France. So we know the clients, but they sell it to very far away. We even had a customer who sold us his product in Hong Kong from France. So in this case, we don't try to help him there.
In these cases, that's where we start looking for what is good for the your supplier. For example, your supplier could deliver a much more ecological delivery, and with that, they save money, you save money. That's where we have to start, because we're kind of stuck in these assumptions that if you buy, let's say, a foie gras from France, it's put into a piece of plastic, it is wrapped this way, and delivered to you. What if it is delivered in an ecological way? It isn't that much different. It's actually much lower cost. That's what we're trying to see here. What is delivered that is, we're looking across industries, for example, what is delivered that is done without the waste, without the packaging, etc., etc.
Yeah, what is the what? Sorry.
What is delivered without the waste, the plastic packaging?
Right, you mean in France, or if we sell something abroad?
Well, abroad or locally.
Because locally we can really use a reusable container. So we could so here in Paris, for instance, we have a lot of customers who sell who are fish wholesalers. So they buy fish, they cut it and to prepare it for restaurants, and then they send it to restaurants in reusable crates. So they don't have to use polystyrene. Another example is for vegetables. A lot of restaurants now ask for daily deliveries, so they want every day exactly the right quantity of vegetables to prepare the meals. And so the wholesalers had to buy some cardboard box, but when they use reusable packaging, they just put the vegetables in reusable crates. And then the thing is to, at the next delivery, so the next day they take back the empty crates.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's really food without any packaging.
And that was my original point, is that if you can show to your suppliers that they save money, you save money, and therefore a higher margin, that's where there's a win there.
Exactly.
And ecologically, it's a win for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Roch, you can complete so with as you won a Blue Ocean Award about the non-customers and how you got this idea, because in fact what you did mostly it's not technological innovation, it's more process innovation, or to transform, to help an industry to transform itself in the elimination of any waste from the delivery. And so you started because you saw that it was a hidden need from more and more companies about this elimination of the waste at the delivery. And you started with a restaurant and in France, but who were this non-customer you have addressed, were leaving the industry of the delivery of the because of this need you have answered.
You mean who are the other people who might need
the non-customer of your industry? Remember, there are all these profiles who were excluded from the industry of the delivery in the food delivery for restaurants, but you, with your solution, you address them. And I remember in your matrix, it was more shoe implied involved in this part, but your matrix, it was for the non-customers, it was a lot of companies who could not continue with this with all this waste because they need to respect some compliance, and they need to, and even their clients didn't want so this mountain of waste in the back of the restaurant, it could not continue, so they were leaving the traditional offerings.
Yeah, because the something that is quite new from the trends is that a lot of restaurants are now asking the wholesalers to deliver the food. In like 20 years ago, restaurants needed to go themselves, go into the markets and buy the food. Now that they are being everything is delivered to them. So this is extra cost for the suppliers, but now that they are being delivered, they see all this waste, and they are asking some suppliers to stop part of using those disposable containers. So already in the first trend, a lot of suppliers didn't want to invest in logistics, so they cut themselves out of this market, and they just have as clients the places where people still go to buy from them. And then there is now this problem with the restaurants who don't want anymore to deal with the waste. There are also suppliers who don't have the money or the logistics to function. So they prefer not to say no to a customer than to find a solution. So when we arrive at Rungis, so Rungis is a big market for wholesalers. There was a lot of them who just couldn't work with some restaurants because they didn't have any solutions to deliver them without those crates or those disposable packaging.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. And maybe Hendrik, you want to react on this about yeah, it's easy. It looks like easy and simple solution without any technology, but just to process, and maybe Roch can also give more details, just to transform an industry in making this industry reducing and eliminating the waste, just bringing some part of solution the industry need to totally transform.
Alban, yeah, that's a very good question. Out of a South African point of view, I think it's more than that. I think it's a bit of how can I say this? An educational thing as well, where people don't necessarily understand or fully grasp the need to save water or to look after it properly. You know, you can sort of take, for instance, or for example, people that live in a rural area. I mean, how do you get everybody on board in that area to start looking after water when they've got only one water point to sort of get their daily water? That's the one extreme to, for instance, here in the suburbs where, not in the suburbs, let's call it the industrial areas. I routinely drive to work where I see sort of leaks coming through the road. So it's obviously a municipal pipe that is burst. So, but there's no urgency. So I think it's a question from my point of view, or my opinion, it's something that needs to be sort of, I don't know, hardwired into people and explain to them precisely what's going to happen, what needs to happen in order for it to change. So, and it's not really innovation. It's more an attitude that needs changing. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Maybe Roch, you tell us how you did to change, to transform an industry without technology, just with reusable crates, but in fact with a real process and it's like consulting. How you did that to change this traditional industry and not competing with the deliverer, but yeah, changing also your clients. You made a big change for your clients and you support them in that. How was the journey to that?
Yeah, the first part is that even though it seems quite simple solution, a lot of our clients didn't want to handle it because it was too complicated for them. We are in a I think, like, let's say, simple kind of industry where wholesalers buy fresh food and sell fresh food. So it seems quite simple, but they have a lot of work to do to make it fast. Because if it's not fast, it won't be fresh food, and you can lose a client if you're late or if you don't have if you don't have the right stock of the product he needs. He will find another wholesaler. So he has a focus on finding the right fresh food fast and deliver it fast. So crates wasn't his main problem, and when waste was a subject to them, they avoid it because it wasn't their expertise. So what we bring is an expertise on how to work with and avoid those wastes. So we are bringing in an industry which is focused on buying and selling food. We are adding a new expertise which is kind of unique in this market, which is being an expert in reusable packaging. So then we have to because we were a bit new also to this notion, we had to learn. So we learned how to respect the hygiene of the reusable crate. So how much time and how we have to and when to wash the crate so that it can be used again. We learn how to help the wholesalers to track the crates and to know which where they are, if they had the right amount of stock of crate to work with. Because if you are short of a crate, then you cannot work, and then you cannot deliver food. And finally, we saw also that there was a huge. It was a huge difficulty to just find the right crates and because every crates had their own benefits and disadvantages. So we are also quite like experts in knowing all the different crates in the market and trying to find the best fit for any client.
So it connected to a question from Natalie, sorry. I'm interested in your example of obstacle you had not foreseen.
Yeah, there are many. One of the first big thing we had wrong is that we thought that if we had one good solution, it could work with all the wholesalers. So like we were planning to make our own box to make our design, which would be better for delivery, and then to sell it to all the wholesalers. But we found out that depending on what they sell, the size of the company, and also their history, they all had different needs. And so for some they want like high boxes, for others they want small boxes, for some they need wash every day, for some they don't. Some want to buy their own stock of crates. Some already had crates, so someone wanted to rent the crate. So we saw that there was a lot of complexity in the fact that every client has its own need, and we need to standardize our services, because otherwise we would be too expensive. So we need to have something standard, but with a kind of part where we could adjust to the client. So it was a big surprise that we couldn't have one product for all, but we have to have several. We have to have one product that you can tweak depending on how the need of the client.
Yeah, very interesting. Hendrik, Jason, George, and all coaches, feel free to react, of course. Natalie, to answer your question. You want to react, Natalie? So in the meantime, we have also Neko Megelang asking to Hendrik, is water crisis related to usage? So in the chat.
Yes, I saw. Urban, thanks. Yes, I saw the question. It's a very good question. Thanks for that question. I would think it's a big part of it. I feel there's still this sort of attitude with regards to water, that if you open the tap, water will just flow, and nobody even thinks how the water is brought to that point. So it's definitely something. Or attitude is definitely one of the big problems. I would say another problem is obviously the infrastructure. But okay, again, that's something that can be looked at. And I think innovation can play a big part in that, perhaps looking at new types of materials, incorporating new methods. I think sometimes we get sort of stuck in that it's been working for years, so why change it? And perhaps we need to start asking ourselves, why can't we just look at maybe cheaper, better alternatives? Because I believe it's out there. But definitely, I mean, if you ask a child in South Africa, where does he think water comes from, he will just point to the tap, which is not incorrect, obviously, but there's not a understanding of how scarce it is and exactly what the process is to get the water to that point. And just keep in mind as well, specifically now for South Africa, we're a very dry country. We're not water rich as other countries, so it's definitely attitude should be at the top of the list. It should be a prerequisite, I would say, that needs to be drilled in at every level if it's possible. I hope that answers her question.
Roch, you want to react also on this? Because certainly in your experience with PANDOBAC, it was some specific issues you found only in Europe, in France, and you think it could be others in other countries regarding waste management?
Sure. I believe that it's something which is quite common sense to say that if you are having often the same client, that you should reuse the container. It's something that exists, I think, in every country, but I think every country also has a lot of its industry who find it simpler to use disposable packaging. So I think it's something quite common. After we are working with in France and more specifically in Paris with restaurants, because this is a quite big industry. So it's easier for us to find a lot of different suppliers who could need our products. But there are a lot of different industry that can use reusable packaging, and I think it depends on the area of the world where you are. And in Paris, there are a lot of restaurants. But
Hendrik, what do you think of that? Is it in the mindset, the South African mindset, to use disposable packaging with no concerns, or it's changing and they want more and more recycling, reuse?
Alban, that's a difficult question, but perhaps from my perspective, again, with South Africa being a social economic, not social economic, is a very social diverse country. It's difficult to answer that question. If I can give a simple example, a friend of mine, she's very into this trend, like Roch mentioned. I know there's some stores where you take your own packaging with, be it a glass container or whatever. Then you would put your rice in it, or macaroni, or whatever you want to. You can just put it into that glass container. With that being said, I don't think you will get a similar solution or shop in one of the rural towns in South Africa. That's just not how it works there. It's much easier to just go there and buy whatever you need in the packaging that it comes from. And with regards to the waste management of that, I don't believe it's happening. I might be speaking under correction here, but I don't think the people in the rural area are too concerned with recycling, because obviously they've got mouths to feed and to put food on the table. So again, it depends. It depends on what you mean, or not what you mean, where you're coming from, and what your target is. But definitely for a country like ours, it's not as clear cut an answer. I hope that answers your question.
Entrepreneur coaches, you want to react on that? What is the South African mindset regarding waste? Is it just no concern at all? It's different from the city, it's different concerns, or it's you think it could change, or you think they could be more concerned if it will be connected with some reward or some things? Kamogeleng, other entrepreneur working in the waste industry, waste management industry.
I think waste management in South Africa is a problem, and it's an obvious problem, and it affects even certain communities, because you find landfills in certain residential areas, which is really, really bad. Most landfills, you find people staying closer to there. But when it comes to reusing, there are products that are being transported using reusable boxes. Like if the delivery of bread, they deliver in plastic crates that are being reused. Also cool drinks and vegetables and some fruits, they're using. Even if you go to the supermarket and you want maybe bananas, you'd find that the bananas that you pick, they're being packed in reusable boxes. Obviously, if you wanna buy pre-packed ones, there are pre-packed ones, but I think there's places where it's actually kind of developing slowly. And I think Isaiah did mention that there is recycling happening in South Africa, and you find a lot of people tapping into that field, but it's not as much as it needs to be to actually show a difference or make a difference in the landfills and the environment itself. So the amount of waste that's being created compared to what's being recycled, it's not showing that there's actually effort. So there is a need for something bigger to happen.
So what could be a solution for that to change the
Actually,
mindset? And
yeah, as I was thinking, as I was listening to
with the pickers, we talk a lot about the pickers in a different because it's very, yeah, there are a lot of pickers. It's a real business in South Africa. Is it not a solution? It could be interesting maybe to have the opinion from each of you.
Did you say a pick house?
Pickers, you know, the pickers.
Rag pickers.
Oh, like when they're sorting, I'm not sure I know what you're talking. Oh yes, there is a lot of waste pickers, like they collect and they sort the yes. It's actually
the leaf from that, yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot. It's actually kind of even a problem on the roads, because you find like people pushing this huge
waste, on the road,
Yeah, which is amazing, because you find like normal people getting into that business. So they do see a potential in that. So I think.
What's the opinion from Hendrik and Roch about this? Because I know it's totally not French. It's not in Europe. We don't have this. But Hendrik, maybe.
Yes.
What's your opinion?
Everything I was said now is pretty spot on. It's very unique to South Africa. I'm not too sure. I've never seen it in any other place. Where it's the pickers sort of, or the waste pickers have sort of their own business. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's. I've driven past places where there's like impromptu sorting stations, where the guys are sorting, splitting the cardboard from the plastic. And then obviously they recycle it and they get a bit of money for it. So in that aspect, of if you look at it like that, yes, it has opened up a couple of opportunities for the few that are willing to do it. But I think still in a global sense, like was mentioned, it's not where it needs to be. Recycling is not the norm. It's something that's you need to go out of your way to recycle, and that's I think something we need to change here.
And Roch, what does it inspire to you? This
Yeah, there are different ideas in my mind. In France, what is kind of surprising is that even though we are trying to push recycling, I think like recycling for a lot of material that could be recycled is like around 30%. So it's quite low. And we have, I don't know how to say this in English, incinerators, so a place where we burn the waste to make heat. And they are all full. So meaning that even in Paris, where it's one of the richest part of France, we still need to dump some part of the waste into dump fields. So we could do better. And one of the problem is that there are, even though we invest in recycling facilities, there are every year the quantity of waste increase, maybe due to delivery, but also due to our rising consumption. So there are more waste to deal with every year. So even if we invest in recycling center, it's not enough. And one of the thing what happened is that it's a lot linked to the cost of the materials that are being recycled, and a lot of the recycled materials were sold to foreign countries because the factory in France didn't want to use recycled materials because they were lesser quality. And I think it's mostly China who stopped buying those recycled paper, recycled plastic. So the price went down, and so a lot of those investment into recycling didn't work out because there weren't any more buyers. So I don't know for the pickers in South Africa, but I saw I think it was in Nigeria or something, a country like this, where there was a TV show, a documentary showing that people couldn't, even the pickers who didn't live with much money, even them couldn't work because the price of the recycled materials was really low. So there is a big problem if you rely too much on recycling, on those people without the state taxing the disposable packaging, is that sometimes it's not enough just to pick the reusable materials, because you still have to work on them and then to find a good price to sell it. So yeah, I think we need the government to put taxes to help recycling and to help reusable containers, because otherwise with the market changing, it's always a social problem to have people depending on only on the price of the goods to survive. Yeah.
Okay. And Mia, you raise your hand. Want to react?
Yes, I just wanted to add, because in our work at Tshimologong and with the South African Maker Collective, we have worked with some of the waste picking associations in South Africa. So even though it is smaller, the percentage of waste picking and or recycling that happens in South Africa is smaller than it could be or should be. There is a big push by certain associations to formalize this sector and make sure that waste pickers have the type of working conditions, PPE, personal protective equipment, etc., that they need to stay well and healthy while they work. So some of the associations in South Africa that we've collaborated with on certain project is ARO, which is the African Reclaimers Organization. And then there's also another organization called South African Waste Pickers Association. So there's various of these organizations that are working hard to formalize, to be acknowledged as more, or to bring their work more into the formal work sector than only informal, and also to sit at the boardroom table with municipalities and governments to acknowledge the value of waste pickers in a city, the work that they do. I'll drop a few of the links in the chat, but it's interesting to engage with some of the founders of these associations to see how passionate and positive they are, and also how they create community projects where they are engaging the communities where they waste pick, especially suburbs where often waste pickers are not welcome or seen as a nuisance or a problem or a possible risk, to engage communities and get them to be more positive about waste picking, and even help the waste pickers by separating at source and cleaning recyclables before sending it on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Maya. Yeah, and also Nakomo Gelang, she said about safety and vandalization. It's also another opportunity from the waste picking. Anne, she just joined us from Paris. Welcome, Anne. We already started about the sustainability, water and waste management. Just it's open discussion, just we exchange ideas, we react, and it's maybe I will let you introduce yourself first.
Alban, I have to leave you because I only had an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. But you say it's on the way.
So, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Roch, for your support and your insight.
You're
very
welcome.
Interesting. Thanks.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye, Roch.
See you.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Alban. So good afternoon, everyone. So I am Anne Lebreton-Wolf. I'm 46 years old, and I'm happy to be with you today. So Alban invited me for this Blue Ocean Corners, as I am innovation expert, business angel myself. I have invested in more than 10 companies and experienced more than 3 exits as of today. I invest very broadly. We will be able to speak about it later on. And I am also involved in the European Commission program in many sub-programs that are dedicated to some verticals, tech, industry, laser industry, robotics, etc. So I am also involved in the Blue Ocean Awards. I have been for at least more than 4 years, and it's always a pleasure to cooperate with Alban and with other jury members to help startups and to select the most interesting out of them for promotion, and also to push them a little bit further. For the time being, I have been involved in the French and European ecosystems, but not yet overseas.
Thank you, Anne, for this introduction. Maybe I will invite, I see Kensani from Tuxnovation to introduce maybe Tuxnovation in a few words, or Lezago, but we tried Lezago, you didn't react last time. Maybe Kensani, you are here? Just to give to Anne some examples of the incubators taking part to the program. Kensani, Lezago, if you are here. So it seems no. So we have other coaches. I see Mia. You can introduce also again Chemolong to Anne, if you want.
Yes, sure. Hi, and pleased to meet you. Myself and Natalie Mahamati, who's on the call. There's 4 of us who are coaches to the program at Tshimologong Digital Innovation Precinct, and there's some of the entrepreneurs also obviously on the call. Tshimologong Precinct is a digital innovation precinct owned by Wits University, University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg. And what Tshimologong is there for is to build top-class African digital entrepreneurs. And this is in software development, hardware development, and also in digital content development. We have 8 entrepreneurs and 4 coaches, as I said, on the program in a variety of sectors, education, waste, and others. Sorry, as I say it, it just like escapes my mind. But I can look that up again.
Okay, thanks, Mia.
Nice to meet you.
So I see Rezib. Rezib, maybe you want to introduce your organization. Are you here, Rezib? I think you are a coach, if I remember well, maybe from UNISA or TUT. Rezib, are you here? Ah, you are here on the chat. And Rezib, you want to open your microphone and okay, you have a lot of background noise. Okay, so maybe we can ask to one of the students, entrepreneurs, I don't know, Brighton maybe, or Canayo. You are from Tuxnovation. You can introduce Tuxnovation.
Hi there, Alvin.
Hi, Canayo.
Hi there.
And you took part to the South African Blue Ocean Awards, I remember. So.
Yes, hi there. I'm Kanayo. I'm a student at the University of Pretoria and being incubated by Tuxnovation. We, the Tuxnovation group, we are focused on also waste and renewable energy and seeing how those two can come into together to obviously reduce waste and create more energy. And I'm with Brighton and who do you call it, Shireen? Well, all 3 of us are working together to see what we can do during with the Blue Ocean Corners. Thank you.
Thank you, Canayo. So here we have, and yeah, for 1 hour, until 4 South African time, we have Hendrik, and maybe I will let Hendrik introduce himself, or Anne maybe in a few words.
No problem, Alban. Hi, and I'm Hendrik. I work for VEOLIA Services Southern Africa. I'm the mechanical lead here in the design office. I'm mostly responsible for the designs and a bit of innovation on our products. So it's quite exciting to be involved with the Blue Oceans or Blue Ocean Awards. And obviously, if there's any questions or technical expertise our entrepreneurs need and want, they can just call me or email me. Definitely.
Thanks a lot, Hendrik. I appreciate. So yeah, for the next 1 hour, we propose to continue the discussion we started with Hendrik and also with Roch about the industries of sustainability, water and waste management. But it can be also, and I know you have a very big overview on different topics, so maybe it can be about energy, education, housing, also housing. We have some students working on housing. And yeah, maybe with a focus on the time trends for this industry, what is coming in the 10, 20 years in terms of sociology, economy, new technologies, in terms of alternatives. So what we were talking about, pickers, waste pickers, it's very strong, a big alternative in South Africa to the waste management industry, and also decision chain. So who are the deciders, where are the influencers, prescribers and so on, who are in power in the decision at the end for these industries. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Anne, you feel inspired, you have by these elements, you feel ready to start?
So
yeah.
One first provision is that I'm not an expert in those domains, so I cannot speak about something very precise, especially for South Africa.
You have an overview as an investor.
But an overview as an investor, and from all the startups applications I have seen regarding time trends. Well, there is a huge concern about waste management all over the world, as many Western or developed countries used to send their wastes to more emerging countries, unfortunately. And now this is shifting. There is more and more awareness about the problem, the human problem, the relationship problem, and the environmental problem that this is conveying. So there is a big concern about waste management, in particular vis-a-vis oceans, ocean pollution, ocean plastics, etc. I think this will be one of the most sought after startups. And the other thing I'm also seeing and feeling that will be important and key for the next years is about electrical vehicles and hydrogen vehicles, to be able to recycle the elements that are needed to construct those vehicles. I think there is an upward trend towards adoption of those kind of propulsions rather than fossil fuels. But you have to bear in mind that rare earths are a real problem. Real problem in terms of supply, real problems also in terms of recycling. So you have to cherry pick very little elements once you want to recycle your product and to extract them and to be able to re-inject them into the production chain. So that's, I think, also a big issue that has to be dealt with, and that I think can offer huge opportunities for people who get into this market. For instance, in France, I heard recently that there are only 3 or 4 industry companies that are recycling batteries for electrical vehicles, and that is less than 5% of the whole present automotive electrical fleet that is in circulation in France. So just imagine if you double or triple this number of electrical buses, vehicles, etc., then you will have a real issue in 2, 3, 5 years of recycling of the batteries. So I think I view these 2 trends as really major. I would not say that they are the only ones, but I think ocean pollution and also batteries and more generally new mobilities, recycling issues are really key trends.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Hendrik, you want to react on this big picture?
No, I think Anne has pretty much hit the nail squarely on the head. Just like I mentioned earlier in my little speech, I think water is also something that needs to be, out of a South African perspective, needs to be looked at and perhaps put back in the spotlight, just to make people understand that it's not an infinite resource. South Africa is a very dry country. If we had obviously we had a lot of rain these last couple of months for the people that live up in Gauteng, which is fine, but you must also remember that 3 or 4 years ago we had no rain at all. So yeah, we just need to focus on water as something that we need to look after and cherish, and yeah, not waste it.
John, Jason, and coaches want to react? Feel free to. Maybe.
Yeah. It's all good.
Jason, yeah, you want to?
That's what I said. It's all.
It's all good. Okay, maybe so, and we can continue on this time trends overview you have. Maybe on regarding the other industries, you know, maybe energy, education, edtech, mobility, agriculture, maybe also housing. We have a group working on the housing.
Yes, well, as mentioned, I'm not an expert in all those domains, so I'll just
what you
give
see
a big picture. Well, regarding energy, it is connected with the rest, meaning that fossil fuels with the carbon dioxide emissions are really now chased, and people are getting conscious about the pollution it triggers. Yet you have to find alternatives which are really greener, because it's not just shifting from coal to electrical batteries, but if electrical batteries are made out of rare earths that are very polluting to extract, etc., you have to keep in mind the global impact you have on the environment. So I think there is a real concern about energy, is not just shifting from one to the other, but taking all the externalities into consideration. I have invested in one French company which takes in France, but also abroad. They have, I think, a project also in Africa to take agricultural waste, meaning that when you cut a palm tree, you have the palms you can recycle as its biomass. And in France, for instance, when you grow crops, then you have a lot of agricultural waste that you can value. And so they do this to generate energy, so biomass energy. And I think that to look for all the energy that can be produced differently or can be re-injected into the system, that's also very interesting. I also heard about some projects that want to capture the heat that is emitted by the computers, and also all the servers and more and bigger.
You saw it in the brochure one. Remember?
Yeah,
it's
and then you can take off this heat and do something about it.
It's Carnot. The name is Carnot.
Carnot, yeah. I couldn't remember the name, but I thought Alban could help me on that.
Yeah, of course.
But yes, there is something really to be done to spend less, but also to use more smartly the energy that is already
optimization also. Yeah.
Yeah, true. So regarding education, I think with the COVID, which is now worldwide, and that makes me talk about something that is seldom put forward, but I think before the COVID crisis, and for some years, it has been North versus South, rich countries versus more emerging countries. And now I think, and what is good, is that the problem is perceived worldwide. If you pollute the ocean in France, you get the consequences as well in South Africa. If you pour dioxin in the ocean in India, you will have consequences in the Middle East. So it's not one against the other. We live on the same planet, and I think now people are more and more aware of the fact that if they want to protect themselves wherever they are, they have to do something for commonwealth and common well-being and well-behavioring. And I think that's a little shift in mentalities, but that will have big consequences, and hopefully better consequences that's what has been done to the environment over the 40 last years. So regarding education, I think it's also more worldwide now than it has been, and thanks to the COVID, of course, it is a plague for everyone, but thanks to the COVID, I think there are less business travel, and there is also more visio conferences, as the one that is organized today, but for education and for professional meetings, Zoom, Teams, and Google Meets and other applications are now perceived as something part of the daily work and daily way of working, at least in the consulting world, but more generally, when meeting a client 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago, when you ask him to meet through the computer, most people said, well, you don't devote me to enough consideration, you don't want to come to my place, you don't want to spend more than an hour for me. Now, people see more efficiency in terms of carbon emission, but also in terms of time management, in terms of possibilities also to have other people joining the conference, etc. So I think in education, but also in the professional world, this is a major trend. And that also allows people from everywhere on earth to consume educational value. And then I think this is really shifting the way you teach, the way you learn, but also whom you onboard on learning. And I think this will open more broadly to other countries, other people, the possibility to learn about a subject, about to get a diploma, etc. So I view it as very internationalizing in education. And so a lot of startups are also shifting to the digital world to push forward for the 6 to 12 or 12 to 15 class age, more pedagogical material through digitalization, gaming, etc., than the previous more academic way of teaching. Regarding mobility, of course, I think cities are really, big cities are really pushing forward for less carbon emissions, less cars to manage, and more individual, flexible, and shared mobilities. Regarding agriculture, I think it crosses all the previous sectors that we have been talking about. Agriculture, the way people are taught to, so education, taught to manage a farm, taught to manage how to grow the crops, how to collect them afterwards, how to value them, I think on that part, how to lower the consumption of energy, water, how to optimize when, where, and how to harvest. And I think also about dealing with less waste, meaning that you optimize fertilizers, you optimize the resources you put to grow your crops, but also how you post-production distribution chain. I think that's also, I had heard, I could not find the figure, the statistic again, but that more than in Europe, more than 30% of vegetables and fruits that are produced get finally into the trash can, but not because they have been eaten and because of peeling them, but because they just got rotten before the people or the restaurants or the canteens, etc., could use them. So I think there's a lot to be done also in management of supply to the end consumer, whether B2B or B2C, but for that what is produced is effectively consumed and not just thrown away because you have had a bad time management on this part. So I think that's most of the trends I view here in France and in Europe, but I would be glad to hear also about South Africa and what you are developing.
Thanks a lot. Some reactions maybe from the entrepreneurs who are working on these different industries? Itu Meleng about the agriculture, Kamu Geleng about the mobility, Batoke, Brighton, Kanayo, energy. Yeah, Hendrik?
Sorry, if I may, at my previous work of employment, we were quite heavily involved with a company that specialized in micro hydro stations. Now, they were able to build a series, I think 3 or 4 micro hydro stations in the Free State, if I'm not mistaken, but a bit more to KwaZulu-Natal side. It's quite interesting, and I don't know if some of the entrepreneurs are looking into that, but it's definitely something worth looking at. It's Renewable Energy Holdings is the company's name, and they do micro is like 4 megawatt sort of power that these little hydro stations can conjure up. So that I think that's more than enough for a village or a nearby little town.
Micro power stations? What you mean? They produce
yes,
a small
energy. Small hydro plant. They
okay.
Yes, they
deliver power in the region this morning we had Johannesburg, Monique and Isaiah from City of Chennai, and they talk about it. Also, it's one of their concerns to find small supply energy.
Yes. Yeah. It's Renewable Energy Holdings is the company's name. We've worked with them like I said in my previous place, we work with them closely to design and construct some of their equipment. So that's something perhaps to link with what Anne said. Energy is like the if you don't solve the energy puzzle, you're going to battle to solve the rest of them. So that's definitely something worth looking at and checking out and see what these guys do. They're quite impressive, actually. I see. I was just on their website while I was listening to, and I see they've expanded to Zambia as well. So they're sort of driving this energy need, clean energy need from South Africa point of view as well. So it's something worth looking at. Just to add to what Anne said. Thanks, Alban.
Yeah. Feel free. Yeah, Anne, George, Jason, Mia, everybody can take part, and it's a discussion. If you want to react. Jason, some questions you have maybe about alternatives or decision chain? I don't know. No, Jason maybe is not here. George, yeah,
I am here.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, Jason, you have some questions maybe for Anne and Hendrik?
I don't. It was quite clear. Sorry,
maybe about decision chain, maybe.
Me as a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a little bit off topic, but it addresses something we discussed in the morning session when we were talking about water management and waste management. Or let me rather put that together. I'm actually talking about wastewater. And we were talking about in South Africa not really having solutions where we wash our hands and use grey water to flush toilets. It was mentioned in this morning session, and this afternoon during lunch I was reading up about a startup that's doing exactly that and has been awarded some funding just pre-COVID on that. Sorry to go off topic for the afternoon session, but just while that's fresh in my memory from this morning session, I'll just drop that link in the chat about as well about Lou Afrique that's actually come up with such a solution. So it's encouraging to, while we collecting all these ideas for ideation, to just let our minds run in terms of what's possible and who's done what, and then also being encouraged that there's South African startups doing great stuff in all these sectors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, up piece is excuse me, where we're going. At this stage, yeah, it's off piece. We're going outside of our normal ideas of what we do, how we do it, who we do it for.
No, and if we talk about mini generation,
Power supply.
you normally, the industry comes up with this unit that needs to power small village, etc. But there have been solutions in India where they find one solar panel on around 3 huts can generate enough power, because all they actually need is light and a point to charge their cell phones. And then they came up with an app-based system where people could pay in micropayments. The thing is, you need a financial structure and a financing structure to make this viable. There are lots of ideas out there, mini generation, solar, wind, etc. But unfortunately, I think unless the state gets involved, this is not going to happen.
Absolutely.
The state, especially for power, waste, water, health, the state has to get involved. It can't just be entrepreneurs. Because,
And with the European Commission, you have maybe an opinion on that, what Josh just said?
Well, it's country specific, yet
yes.
I can understand the problem, and I think we have the same here, is that usually it requires investment first, and then you receive lots of little money flows regularly, and then you have a maintenance and protection issue of the device. And unless it is organized by a big organization, whether the state, whether a big company that has the strength and the power to do maintenance, to finance first, to be sufficiently powerful as well to prevent deterioration of the installation, then it's really hard to find some local or small initiatives that can pilot the whole thing over time.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same here. We had some fiscal aids to help finance solar farms. We had that, and it was quite a success. Although regarding solar panels, there is for me a huge recycling issue, because it's also very polluting to recycle them, and unfortunately a lot of them end up in the nature without being recycled. So I think it is a big progress, and I am happy to hear about those initiatives in India and elsewhere on Earth. But I think you are right. It has to be managed by a powerful organization, whether the state or someone else, that takes care about the infrastructure and that can build them first. We had in France a problem, that is the gray zones regarding cell phones, because most telecommunication operators were very keen to have a network over Paris, Lyon, Marseille, the biggest cities in France, because it was quite lucrative. But when you have to cover some areas in the mountains where there are only 1 or 2 people living on each square kilometer, this was pretty not profitable at all. But there was the question whether which operator should also take into account those zones with no profitability, but just to cover the whole French territory. So I can understand there are issues regarding cell phones, but also access to electricity, to power, access to water waste management, etc.
So for a lot of words, let's come back to what we're trying to create.
We have a question from Kamogeleng for Anne about if you have seen innovation related to mobility, except in battery electric.
Well,
which was interesting for you.
Yes, of course, there are innovations. There are scooters, electric scooters. There are mobility can be talked about in various dimensions. The first one being the hardware, the devices on which you move. It can also be sharing. We have a startup in France that was very successful, which is called BlaBlaCar, which is a car sharing. So you don't have your own car, but you can jump on someone else's for a given price for a given journey. Then you have also other ways of vehicles that are starting to come up. So it can be bubbles that are meant to circulate on the river as taxis, for instance. I have also seen some projects about drones for parcel delivery or for a last kilometer delivering, so through the air or on the ground. So I think mobility, yes, it can be the vehicle in itself, it can be the use and the sharing you do with it. And it can, I have even seen connected with blockchain for new cryptocurrencies that could be a way to pay for those sharing of mobility. And it can also be completely new ways of moving yourself in the air, on the ground, etc. Yes, so there are a lot of projects, yet what George said about solar panel is also true. You have to have someone, as it is very capital intensive when dealing with the vehicle in itself, not just the organization that goes around, but the vehicle in itself. It's capital intensive. And before you get all the authorizations to circulate on the ground or in the air, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of certifications, it takes a lot of investment, as you cannot do one single prototype and come with it. You have to deploy it quite widely when you start. And so it's this capital intensiveness that can also be a big problem.
Okay, thanks. Coming to answer your question. So we have maybe 10 minutes, 10-20 minutes maximum to finish. Maybe let's have a discussion about the decision chain. I think you said only if some of you said only if the state is involved, something can be done in energy or water. So what is exactly this decision chain? Who are the deciders, influencers, the prescribers? The final users. So in these industries, sustainability, water, waste management, maybe energy. So Hendrik, what is your vision? Yeah.
No problem.
Who are your clients? Who you need to?
If I rewind a couple of years ago, perhaps it ties into what George said. I work in bulk water, and that's primarily run by the government. If they want to build a dam wherever they feel like they need to build a dam, they're ultimately the guys that need to make the decision and supply the capital. Because obviously this is not big infrastructure projects, so it's ultimately the decision lies with them. If I take it at VEOLIA,
But we cannot rethink totally the model, and like you said, we can have low infrastructure. And what about low infrastructure for water? It's the basin, like Mia shared on the chat. Are there no alternatives we could think about?
Yes, that's why I mentioned. That's why I mentioned the guys that do the small hydro stations. They're independent. I don't think they have any government backing. If so far as I know, I'm speaking under correction. Obviously, I don't work for them, but having dealt with them in the past, I was under the impression that they're doing it from investor type of point of view. And I think the model was such that they get their money from the power that they're selling to the surrounding areas of Bethlehem. That's a small town here in South Africa. So that was one way of thinking about it. If I fast forward to VEOLIA, where I'm involved now, it's the clients vary. If I think in Zambia, It's driven by a sort of the government and the company sort of investing together to sort of get a desalination plant up and running. Obviously, the company would have then first use of this water, but after that, I'm not involved with that type of decisions. Again, and then obviously, if you look at wastewater specifically, since I've been here, since I've been involved with VEOLIA, it's your game farms. Lots of guys from South Africa would know. Lots of game farms would have wastewater units installed at their game farms because A, it's very remote, and B, they've got access to a river or a dam where they can sort of get water from, and they obviously need to supply cleanish water to their clients. So that's sort of, okay, it's not driven by someone. The ultimate decision is made by the guy that needs the equipment. So I'm not too sure if that answers your question. That's if you take it smaller and smaller and smaller. But the big infrastructure decisions ultimately would lay with at the municipal level, and ultimately the Department of Water Affairs, the Minister of Water would ultimately make the decision.
But I mean, this is kind of the point. Sorry to interrupt, but that's kind of the point. Is like, what's irritating at each stage, you know? And then, yeah, your clients just say, that's how it is. But what's irritating about it? A little bit less irritating, couldn't it? No.
Yeah, obviously, Jason. I think for in South African context, it's a lack of decision making, not sort of making a decision and saying, yes, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to go about it. And this is the money we've set aside for that project. It's a lack of making the decision. I mean, talk is cheap. You need to sort of, you sort of need to walk the walk now. And that's primarily been the biggest problem from a government point of view is the lack of decision making with regards to this. Yes. And that's why we're sometimes stuck in limbo. Because nobody's willing to make a decision.
Are your barriers municipal or are they federal or state or what?
It's state. I'm not too sure. I'm not an expert, but I know some of the dams are sort of governed and controlled and managed by the municipalities themselves. But I'm speaking under correction where your bigger infrastructures, like for instance, Katsi Dam or dams that sort of between us and Lesotho, we share the water. Those type of projects are sort of obviously decided by big government. But still, the money trickles down to the municipalities from government level. So ultimately, if they decide they want to invest the money somewhere else instead of water, I'm not too sure how do you change his mind, and ultimately, obviously, the political party or whoever's in charge sort of gets forced to make decisions that's popular, and which is not critical and something we need to change.
So when there's like a fait complete, like just saying that fuck, we can't do anything. There is a place for innovation. When you
definitely, there's room for innovation, and yeah, I suppose that's what Blue Ocean is all about. Is there a way of sort of circumventing or I wouldn't say taking the decision out of government's hands, but perhaps making the decision easier, if that makes sense.
Exactly. To make it make sense is
yes.
So I worked in the Obama White House for a time, and my job was to like, this just makes sense. I mean, it's not difficult. It just fucking makes
absolutely
sense.
You need to know when they just sometimes these big jobs, they might sound complicated, but like you said, just make it sense, break it down, make it like digestible for the normal guy,
Exactly.
And
Just
if
break it
he's
down.
on board, if he's on board, then usually 9 out of the 10 times you would get what you want, or win the race, or whatever you would sort of trying to sell. So ultimately, I see what you say. But again,
and so when I hear that there's like regulatory problems with it, it's just fucking hell. Make it make sense. And once we make it make sense, it moves. It like grease.
Absolutely.
You think
so
about
ultimately,
something
I think,
like a automatic poll solution, real-time poll solution to ask for people what they want as a priority, or to know, to help you in your decision as a politic? Or?
I'm not perhaps the best guy to answer it. If
You do a very good French way.
Thanks. It's not ultimate. You can do it, but it's not. They won't listen. If there's something higher on the agenda that needs to happen, that will get precedence over anything else. So it's more of a trying to be trying to be reactive than proactive. That's sort of the motto of government. I feel.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
So, in saying that, usually something needs to hit the fan first before we will decide, okay, perhaps these people don't have water. Let's see if we can make a plan. But at that stage, it's already 3-4 years too late. Damage has been done. A big dam takes 5 years to build. So that ship has unfortunately sailed. Then you need to start crisis managing the situation. And then it opens the doors to corruption and all those type of shenanigans as well. So I'm not too sure if I'm answering the question, but that's
you give some guidelines. Interesting.
That's the.
How many people have a crisis management degree in South Africa?
That's $1 million question. It comes. I did some what you may call it, training when I did a project management course, which was quite interesting actually. But as an expert, I don't know. I don't know anybody. But again, like I said, by that time it's too late. Damage is done, ship is sailed. Now you need to sort of make promises you're probably not going to keep, or you're not in office. By the time the thing sort of needs to get to the decision stage, you're out of office, and the people that then need to make the decision don't have the relevant information.
That's something that is what we are getting at, is that what we are trying to do is to create the ideas to get you out of office in a way.
Yes.
Or to create the next company.
I follow. So hopefully the entrepreneurs that's involved with this can listen to what I've just said and sort of come up with something, I don't know, that will make that decision making, as Jason alluded to, easier and make sense. And then it's not a sort of, I don't understand what the hell you're telling me, so I'd rather not make the decision, and make it simple. And then the guy can, with all certainty, say yes, let's go for that, or whatever needs to be at that time at a specific place, obviously. So
entrepreneurs, coaches, you want to react? Maybe the question is asked. You ask the question, the right question, or we can make this politics moving and taking really decision to change, to have an impact, not only at the election, not only in promises. You are citizens, all of you. You have certainly an idea on that. Etumeleng, Komeleng, Mia, want to? Natalie, I see Natalie. Hi, Natalie. Yeah, sorry.
I just want to ask, so with this thing of, because there's a lot of things in the political environment that one can never change or barely influence. So I'm guessing you say the goal is always to make if you're to try and make a business model, it's to make it independent of the state, if possible. And then, but always keep in mind that they could adapt or buy into what you're offering. Is that what you would suggest? Anyone?
To me, okay, I'm a little bit biased on this. It takes a lot of balls to start creating something against the system. I grew up in a part of Chicago that I was the only white guy in a black neighborhood, for example. And it takes an idea that you can just kind of work it out enough to make it big. The first time I went to South Africa was 1993. As a student, to try to understand the idea of urban planning. And I realized that moment that the urban planning of Johannesburg was taught by the people from Chicago. They went to Chicago in 1963 to understand how to do the urban planning of how to segregate, divide, and separate people. And I went back to Chicago to try to recreate that, to try to deconstruct that. And then, yeah, it was probably a year of depression, trying to understanding what happened. Is that my Chicago was actually in Johannesburg, and all the hate and horror that happened. And then it hit me. It's the connections, it's the reconnections. And that's where innovation happens. It's these reconnections upon reconnections. Is where innovation happens. So when you feel like now we're just stuck in this, we can't move away from this. Now, being caught, can't move anything. It's actually when really, really, really beautiful, productive ideas happen. So sorry for the long tirade, but you hit me.
And maybe something like helping to make the decision. Yeah, you can think about that. It's we don't have an answer, a solution right now, but I think we can help politics and all the municipalities and also citizens to make the decision happening.
Mm-hmm. One way can also be, I don't know if you have that in South Africa, but more and more regions in Europe are building their own incubators, accelerators, often with public money at a local or regional level. And that helps a lot to build a connection between the private entrepreneurship world, local initiatives, and adoption by local politicians. I think that's one of the ways. Of course, it's not a guarantee, but one of the ways to mix a little bit the private sector with the local politicians Of course, if it's very capital intensive, you will have this wall of finance to climb. But if it's a project of organization that does not require huge infrastructure, it sometimes is quite efficient and can come up to reality quite rapidly. So that's one way to view things. Another thing is just to build another path for consumers directly to come to the company, e.g. for waste. There are more and more initiatives in Europe where you can put your cell phone once it's completely down, so that you don't push it into the trash can, but that it can be put back on the market and repaired if possible, or that it can be recycled. There is back market and so on.
Back market. It's a unicorn. It's a French unicorn.
Some other companies. So it's just for the end consumer to take out the parts, meaning the batteries or something else, and to bring it directly to the recycling center or to an intermediate point where it will go to the recycling sector, instead of having the state organized waste global collection and then refiltering, reshifting. Meaning that you end up having the end consumer do the sorting, the selection, and bring the waste to the specific channel that it can be recycled.
Yeah, and because there is an incentive, black market, the incentive is on real time. You can sell your phone, even it has a value in money, even if it's totally broken, and you are very it's incentive to put it back in the system for recycling. But you have immediate reward. So.
And I view that as very positive because it's not the state that is in charge of it with all the problems that can emerge, but you end up really having an effect on the environment or an impact directly.
So I think, it's a positive conclusion, I think. What do you think?
Yes.
So thanks a lot to Anne, to Hendrik, and to all of you for your questions, for reactions. We'll make now a pause, and we come back at 4:05 for another session with very inspired guest speakers like we had. So thanks a lot to Anne and Hendrik for your time and your very interesting, very relevant insight. Thank you.
It's
Thanks,
a pleasure.
everyone.
Thank you, Urban. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you soon. So we are back in 10 minutes. Oui, salut Jean-François. Ça va?
Hello,
Non.
Alban.
On est en petite pause là, ça redémarre dans 1 minute. Dans
Ah
2
d'accord,
minutes.
du coup c'est bien parce qu'il y a le 4 p.m., c'est parce qu'il y a 1 heure de décalage, hein, c'est ce que tu disais en fait?
Ah oui, il y a 1 heure de décalage, ouais.
Ok.
De plus, ils ont 1 heure de plus.
D'accord.
Oui, pardon, oui, c'est local time. Ouais. Donc, oui, désolé. Oui, mais non, c'était. Non, c'est. On va revenir. Donc, c'est vraiment une discussion. Tu vois, bon, on a fait là, c'était très bien, là, les 2 sessions déjà avant, là, 11h et 14h. Il y avait d'ailleurs Anne, juste avant. Tu la connais, je crois, Anne Lebreton. Tu as dû la croiser au jury des Blue Awards. Elle est à la Commission européenne. Attends, je vais te montrer sa photo, du coup.
Non, je connais pas.
Elle était juste avant, là.
D'accord.
Lebreton-Wolf.
Innovation Expert, ok.
Ouais, elle bosse aussi. Elle était, enfin, oui, elle est en train de quitter Natixis, tout ça.
Ah, elle est Natixis, elle, d'accord.
Et c'est la présidente du jury historiquement des Blue Awards.
D'accord.
Elle a investi dans plein de boîtes qui ont gagné un Blue Awards déjà.
D'accord.
Donc ouais, c'est une discussion vraiment ouverte, voilà. On a des axes de démarrage, mais après c'est ouvert. Le but c'est de les inspirer, quoi. Oui, puis c'est retransmis sur YouTube. Ça te dérange pas, ça, hein? C'est bon?
Non, si c'est pas... Non, non, pas de souci.
On va pas communiquer dessus, c'est pour eux, hein, pour qu'ils
Ouais,
puissent
ouais.
le retrouver.
Ouais, ça marche.
Parce qu'ils peuvent pas tous. Et en plus, il y a des problèmes d'électricité là en ce moment. Ils
Ah
sont pas
ouais?
tous connectés à cause de problèmes de réseau et d'électricité, du load shedding. Okay, so we are back. Jean-François from the EIT, it's from the European Commission. European
Exactly, the
Commission.
EIT, which stands for the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and the EIT is a body of the European Commission. And I'm working for the community dedicated to digital innovation. And I will soon join actually the urban mobility community.
Sorry, why I updated?
Okay.
It's up to date. Yeah,
it's up to date.
Yeah. We'll talk. Also, it's good because you have a vision and your understanding about the digital things in any industry, and also soon already a connection with the urban city. So we'll wait for also Laila. And also for Sun Mobility, it will be George, who will know them very well. You are also an advisor to Sun Mobility, for former Lebreton Awards winner. George, maybe you want to introduce Sun Mobility in a few words?
Okay. So before the last South African Blue Ocean Awards, Alban asked me to try and find an Indian company in the mobility space, since Michelin was a sponsor that year. And I'd known one of the co-founders of Sun Mobility for a number of years, and I discovered them. And I'll explain it in the session, but they've actually found a way to make electric EVs or shared mobility work by separating the battery from the vehicle. And they've done, COVID, of course, has not helped. In fact, the reason Yuvraj may not be here is because he's just recovering from COVID. And
you remember, just for the entrepreneurs, we have shared, I've shown you in the case, we had shown you the video explaining and the matrix, so you're already aware of this company.
So what I'll do is after this, once we're in the session, Yuvraj will try, but I'm not sure he'll make it because he just, I don't think COVID's completely gone. And no, it's a very interesting company. They've actually managed to get traction in the business. A big energy trader has just invested $50 million to help them grow. And Bosch has bought 26% of the company too, because Bosch, of course, their main business is diesel engines, and they're trying to catch up very quickly in the new reality. So I'll wait for the EIT view, and I'll see if I can add some complementary information.
Yeah, and about this company, the Blue Ocean they have created, it's in the industry of the fleet management. They changed totally the rule.
No, they decided that they are going to focus only on shared mobility. So it's the three-wheelers and the buses. And they've now tied up with, so for three-wheelers, they tied up with Piaggio. For buses, they tied up with the Leyland, which has been bought up by an Indian group. And they're working with Honda, Hero, which was the original partner of Honda for motorcycles and scooters. But they're focusing on the three-wheeler and the buses for the moment.
So they make possible to access the electrical vehicles very easily for no investment to all these cities.
It's pay by use. They have electricity. Yeah,
because it's a swap of battery. You pay only to get a full battery. So it's like refueling with in
the same time
normal motor engine.
They've also looked at, Anne brought up this issue of recycling. Since the battery is a small unit, and it's actually designed that after the battery drops from peak charge, they disassemble it and they use it for small solar panel institutions, static batteries, and then eventually they recycle it by taking it off. It's also battery technology agnostic, because the technology is the box. What you put in the box can be a new battery. The other thing that Anne talked about was recycling electric cars. I saw some images of hundreds of those, what was the car in blue? The Vellib of cars that they've got parks of these cars with the batteries that are now not utilizable anymore, and it costs too much money to change. I think it was Bolloré.
Bolloré, it was like blue car or something.
Blue quelque chose, right.
There was blue something, yeah.
Yes. And I saw a picture of a park of hundreds of these cars that have just been abandoned because the battery's dead.
It was Autolib. The first was Autolib.
Oh yeah, Autolib. Vellib, Autolib, wait. And they've eliminated that problem. We'll talk about it a bit more in the session.
It's very interesting because for investment, it means the fleet management companies, the municipalities, and so on, they don't need to pay for the battery. So it separates the battery from the vehicle. In terms of investment, it's a very big difference. And
yes,
it was an hidden pain.
Yes.
If you do that, you, like George said, you pay only for the electricity you put in the battery, and you have real-time access to this. You don't have a problem of range, geographical range, because you always take a full battery. So it's the same as with the motor engine.
And also the small batteries can actually be recharged with solar. You don't need, it's not like having a supercharger in electricity, just the roof of the swap station can actually trickle charge the batteries and keep them at peak.
And is it independent of the price of the electricity that they are putting in the batteries? Is it like?
It's currently cheaper than the alternative, which is diesel or petrol. And since they're using solar or they intend to use solar, they've tied up with the largest Indian oil company to place the swap stations in the petrol stations. So they're also talking, some of the other manufacturers talking of supercharger units. The supercharger units, you need a lot of electricity continuously. And India, we're not as bad now as South Africa is, but we have a lot of brownouts and power failures. So, you arrive at the station and there's no power, you can't charge plus it takes an hour or two. This swap takes 5 minutes.
That's very, very interesting. This summer, there was this on the French television, like France 2, at 8 p.m. So like where there's a maximum of traffic. There was this journalist explained that he wanted, so he was based in Paris, and he wanted to go on the Ile de Ré, so the island of Ré, which is in center west of France. And usually it's like with a classic car, it's a 6 hours trip.
Right. Yeah.
I would say, or 7 hours trip by car. It's 3 hours and a half by train. Yeah. And he took an electric car, and he had to make 2 or 3 stops.
Yeah.
He charged the car on the highway, and on the highway, it took him something like 1 hour and a half to recharge the car. And he arrived at destination, I don't know, after 15
hours
or something.
No, but
so it's a great.
What is interesting, it's it was a lot of. It's interesting that you take this example. It was a lot of startups who failed trying to do this battery swap for B2C vehicles for people, for consumers, because it was not really a market ready, and it was a big competition with automotive manufacturers. So, but here, what is interesting, it's not really the technology to swap the battery. A lot of them do that.
Yeah, everybody does that.
Yeah, everybody does that. But what is interesting is to bring this solution in an industry where there are very big pain, because municipalities, cities all around the world, they are overpolluted, and they are looking for solutions, and they have pressure from the citizens to reduce the pollution, and they need that. But it was this problem of investment. So doing the swap of batteries, and I know that Sun Mobility pay the battery, and the municipalities pay only the electricity you put in it. So it's a battery rental, and it's also very good, because all these these fears, these oppositions they could have to change, to swap from thermic to electric. It's solved because just the right solution at the right place. That's all what we need. It's typically.
Let me interject, is that it's a capital
intensive business.
And this is where in South Africa, every startup needs to tap into the bigger market. And so if we're going to go like any electronic vehicle, it needs to be capital intensive. And last time I was in South Africa, went by Elon Musk's school. And it's not about him, it's about the idea. It's the idea of creating capital, coming back to South Africa. And in my mind, that's what's necessary.
So maybe some reactions from the entrepreneurs, some questions for Jean-François or about the mobility. It's about.
Is there a Durban incubator in the group?
Dub? What do you mean?
Durban.
Durban, yes. I think there are some people from DOT or also from the Baobab Makerspace.
Because both the partners of Sun in India, which is Piaggio for three-wheelers and Leyland for buses. Piaggio is already in Durban, and I think Leyland has a joint venture coming up in Durban too. So in the early stages, maybe a Sun solution could be built into the story. Because all the three-wheelers in South Africa seem to be imported from India or assembled from Indian parts. So since it's still early stages, there may be an opportunity there.
Yeah, I don't see if they are connected or not, the people from Durban, from Sibonizone or Jean-François. No, they are not here.
I can send them a mail.
Yeah, they will see. Yeah, we can. So some questions, reactions, maybe.
Just to add something to the what's happening in Europe right now. So there are more and more investment in technologies in Europe. Every vertical has raised more than last year, I guess. It's been 3 times more for mobility startups in 2021 than the previous year. And the biggest round has been made by Northvolt. So it's a Swedish company. It's actually a factory of batteries. They raised something like 2.7 billion euros with corporates like Goldman Sachs and Volkswagen Group and so on. So it's really the main topic in Europe right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know in South Africa it's not really electrical vehicle is not yet really developed. But maybe there is a trend for that, or because it's quite a cost to access it. But for instance, in France we have Dacia, the Renault low-cost trademark, and it's making the electrical vehicle affordable. It reduced a lot the price, and maybe it starts from that maybe less than 10K for a new vehicle, electrical with a good range. So some of the entrepreneurs want to react on that. I know, and Geleng, you're working on the mobility also. You want to react on that? What is your opinion about, or some question you could have to Jean-François regarding electrical vehicle?
Well, there's something else I would like to add about this model, is that so there's this doctrine in Europe where we have decided that we are going to replace every thermic car by an electric car, but we already know that it won't save the planet, because it's going to be, well, when you set up an electric car, it's more CO2, yeah, it's more carbon intensive than a thermic car. Then when you run the cars, well, finally it's better, but we still need tons of materials to build these cars. So the more we share parts of the cars, and in that case that's the battery, the better. So that's totally that's a much better angle than just swapping from thermic cars to electric cars. That's another thing that is, yeah, very positive in the model.
Yeah, sure. And there is certainly a more low-cost approach than changing all the cars. And yeah, maybe some parts. And you know about.
Yeah, and just to I got something else in mind is not, now we realize that it's still better to own a car than to own a vehicle. It could be an e-scooter, an e-bike, or a car, than to share all of it, because we always take care better of the vehicles when we own it.
Yeah.
And there's been these studies that are very recent now, when we realized that, well, they didn't study the car sharing business actually, but they studied the e-scooters and the e-bikes that are shared, and they realized that well, actually it's not totally carbon positive, because usually people that use these micro mobility tools could have used mass transportation instead, and most of these materials is well, people do not take care of these shared e-scooters and e-bikes because they don't own the stuff, or they are stolen, or they are destroyed, or sent in the river Seine in the city of Paris. So they arrive to the conclusion that, okay, it can be better in terms of carbon if people own it. That's the conclusion they arrive to. And I guess it's about the same with the cars, but in that case, since you can own the car, you're not obliged, I guess you're not obliged to share it. You can own the car, but just share the battery by swapping it with other people. We still keep the ownership characteristic.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you still a mutualization. When there is a mutualization, it can be the transport or the vehicle or part of the vehicle. It's very big economies. And also retrofit. We can talk also about retrofit. It can be very interesting. Also for South Africa, you take a normal car and you just change some part to make it electrical, and it's very affordable.
There was a company in the Blue Ocean Awards that did retrofits.
Yeah, clear. I say hi to Laila. Laila just joined us from SCALEWAY. Hi, Laila. Welcome.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. And you?
I'm great, thank you. Oh, I didn't know. Do you want to have the cameras open? I didn't realize.
Yes, we want to see you. if you can.
How are you?
Hi, I let you introduce yourself.
Okay. So my name is Laila Nasir. I am the Partner and Investor Programs Manager for the SCALEWAY Startup Programs, as you can see on the screen. So SCALEWAY is a cloud infrastructure and services provider. We're based here in France, and we're actually a subsidiary of the IDEATION group. I don't know how many of you are aware of what that is, but it's a huge telecommunications group within Europe, and we are a subsidiary of it. But we work around Europe and also a little bit around the world as well. So we actually have data centers based within Paris, France, Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and in Poland. Warsaw, Poland. I got confused for a second. And I am working to help bring in incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, etc., VCs, etc., to join the startup programs, where we would love to support all of the startups within your ecosystem. I hope that's enough.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Laila. We'll have your colleague Pascal in joining us in 1 hour to give more details about it. Yeah, thanks a lot. So yeah, we were talking about mobility. You see about digital, the impact of the digital on the mobility, but also on other industries, sustainability, also education, energy. So here there are some questions in the chat from Nako and Kamogeleng. Maybe in Kamogeleng you want to open your microphone if you are available. I see you made a lot of reaction.
Yeah, I wanted to ask which non-customers did they attain from? Those that were not directly customers before.
For some mobility, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it was everybody who, one, there wasn't an electric solution in India, except, a couple of small cars. And in the share mobility space, a lot of people travel in tuk-tuks, auto three-wheelers. Now, these people in India, we decided for pollution reasons that they have to convert from petrol to natural gas. But we don't have enough natural gas stations. So these poor guys have to line up for an hour or two to get their tanks filled. And an hour or two means they're not working. So this is one of the pain points. Buses, of course, so we've started introducing buses, but there are no charging solutions. I saw some very funny pictures of a diesel generator charging the bus because they didn't have enough power points at the station. So there are lots of, the state decides we must reduce pollution and says, okay, no petrol. But they don't come up with
the cities they cannot follow. The city they cannot follow because at this time they didn't have a solution. So they are exactly non-customers because they were blocked. They could not access the electrical.
The founder of Sun Mobility has been in the business for a long time. And he suddenly realized that the reason people are not adopting is one, the cost, and two, this idea of range. You're always worried that,
in terms of
the investment, it doubles or triples the cost. Even an auto rickshaw with batteries, if it was installed batteries with enough range, would cost, the battery would cost twice as much as the vehicle. So by separating the battery out of that conversation, he's managed to get traction and, lots of, and he's created an infrastructure of stations so that you can, your app tells you where there's a battery available, and you can plot the shortest trip there. And for the buses, you can either have, one large battery or three large batteries, and you can have the charging station at the depot.
And there is a robot, at the station for the bus to change automatically.
Whereas the two-wheeler is just, it's a little box that you pull out and stick into a charging station. But it's been successful. They're all over there are 5 or 6 cities in India that are now being charged and
swapping and charge.
Swapping charge, creating the infrastructure, and the fact that they've tied up with the largest oil company means they have already the locations all over India. even on highways. And we don't have these huge trips like the United States. I mean, you very rarely, because the roads are so bad, you're not going to drive more than 100 kilometers anywhere in a day. So yeah. So it's working, and I think for India and emerging markets, this is a solution that makes sense. But Alban must have shared, if you go on their website, there's a lot of information about what they do and how they do it.
Yeah, we shared already in the presentation. We have a case study we had, but we share the video on the chat again. Some question from the entrepreneurs about sun mobility, or it's from complements, I think. Yeah, sun mobility. It's the path from complements, or you will manage this battery, or you will fill in. So, do you see Jean-François, Laila, George, Jason, other complementary products or services for this mobility industry we could think about, or you have seen some startups developing on this complementary, it's integration of the value chain, mostly what you do.
Sorry, are you talking about a possible extension for sun mobility, or are we talking about?
No, in general.
Just in general.
For the mobility industry, did you see some startups, some ideas about these complementary product services? It's value chain integration.
I just read 2 days ago that in France, there are classic rent-a-car companies. So you go to an agency, a brick and mortar agency, you rent the car, you take the car, and you drive. Now there's more and more like the totally online rent-a-car company where you book the car and they bring the car to your house.
Right.
Then you drive the car. And now there's a hybrid new startup that raised, I think, 60 million euros in Berlin. What they do, it's a two steps. There are two values in what they propose. First, they recycle the thermic cars and they convert them in electric cars, and then they send the car to you autonomously. So they just teleguide. They just teleguide the car to you, and that's it. You
they retrofit your old car, and
it's both a retrofit company plus they add a bit of autonomous intelligence in it just to drive it to your home. So it's a bit like it's totally new. But I guess there will be more and more, services. If you take a picture right now of whatever service you can see, like the food delivery. So you take a picture and people are coming. Well, you just place your order online, and people are coming to you with the groceries. Okay, now Walmart just did there's the last mile delivery. And they are doing the last meter delivery. Actually, they enter your house and they put all the fresh foods in your fridge and the other kind of food in the other parts of your kitchen, and they go away. So there's always a way, when you extend the service a bit further, there's always a value you can add just by thinking this way, But the market has to be already here. The usage has to be super stabilized. And then you can go a bit further.
Interesting. Laila, you want to feel free to react, and Laila, to this to the discussion, of course. And John, Jason, you want to react on this about complementary integration of the value chain? like yeah, Walmart. It's also emotional. Also in the mobility, it was a very functional industry from the beginning, just moving from one part to another part, except with the car, where they have the image of the guy, but it was mostly functional. And it's now when it's trendy, when you have a scooter, when we have Tesla and so on, it becomes to be more more emotional. There are some very emotional things appearing, because especially when you have you are not the driver anymore. It's autonomous driving. So do you see some in this industry more emotional or more functional things appearing? No? Jean-François, Laila, George, you see some emotional, what do you see some transformation of this mobility going to more emotional appeal, or on the other end to the more functional side? Or like we say that now you will be driven automatically by your car. You will stay in the car doing nothing, and just enjoying a movie or restaurant. It will be nothing really functional anymore. It just but on the other hand, we have a Hyperloop, which makes the promise to bring you very, very fast in just a few minutes on a very big distance.
But it's also supply chains. I mean, we can talk about EVs as much as we want, but with the pandemic, we've seen how, you know, there are no chips around. The Chinese are very far down the supply chain or the experience curve. So it's, you know, it's good to have, but as it's not going to happen tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of startups. It's now become trendy, so there will be a lot of money thrown at it. But what will be the final solution, and for whom? And
well, maybe there's a
middle path.
Exactly. That shows the fact that we can create an EV that is socially
acceptable
and environmentally acceptable. We are not doing a Tesla where in America still 65% of electricity comes from coal or gas. And we focus on everything that goes into this car does not pollute Black and brown people. That could be interesting to me.
No, I don't know. I mean, in countries like India and probably South Africa, I don't think autonomous vehicles are going to be a reality in the near term.
No. Or if it's very low cost, like drones, it could be like drones. But, I don't know.
Can you imagine the traffic of Paris in the air?
I don't. I think we're gonna have this famous like taxi, VTC for the Olympic Games of 2024 that will go to the airport of Roissy Charles de Gaulle to the center of Paris, and that will be it.
That will be it. Yes.
Because drones are too for regulation and security. It's too complicated within a city. I really don't believe in that. Maybe for Dubai or for super new cities.
Cities, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or city.
For the old Europe, I guess.
No, all Europe, no, but for cities in India or where they are.
Maybe for new cities like in
emerging where they are not regarding, they're not concerned really by the law, by the safety as much as in Europe, where they're crazy about the law.
Terrorism is there.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Imagine what you can do with a drone.
Fuck our George Jones. But that's why I build in cities like Curitiba in Brazil. When I went there just before COVID, everything was carbon neutral. Boom, 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 boom. And that was a draw to me. It's like, they get it. The next thing they did was, wow, great architecture. Dun, 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 dun. These are soft power games. And the soft power games, as far as being carbon, just being a decent person are there. And this thing, so I live in Spain, for example, and everybody hates Airbnb here. Now, if we could have not just housing, but transport, just things that you didn't fuck it up. You had a great holiday, but you didn't fuck things up more than that. I think that's something that we need to explore, especially in the South African context. Like I said, I've been there since the 90s. I love the place, but it's misunderstood. The Mandela effect is misunderstood. So if we can find a way, well, who we're working with, that's their job, is to find a way to make it the Bondi Beach of the world. That's very subjective and callous and shallow, but anyhow, that's my job, is to say stupid things. So okay, go ahead.
Don't worry. There is a question from Nakomogeleng in the chat.
Yeah,
Jean-François. Yeah, because she was not here for when you introduce yourself.
Yeah, just to present myself, Nkamogeleng. So I work for the EIT. So the EIT stands for the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. It's actually a body of the European Commission. And I specifically work for the digital community. And so the community is made of public and private companies. Private companies are mainly corporate companies, like technology companies. And the public one are more like research institutes and universities. But I'm going to switch next week, actually, and I'm going to work for the other community dedicated to urban mobility. And actually, in all these communities, there are 8 of them, actually. So digital, urban mobility, but also manufacturing, health, raw materials, and so on. They do, let's say, 3 things. So they are working into the education industry. So they are working with universities so that we produce more professionals in the verticals, in the topics these communities address. The second thing that we do is that we put public money in the creation of new startups in Europe. So every community on its specific topic. And the last thing we do is that usually we help some, let's say, growth stage startups to grow faster. And so I'm going to join the urban mobility community actually to help some startups to access some public funds from EIT urban mobility, but also from another European agency called EIC, so the European Innovation Council. And I'm also going to support these startups to access some network within the ventures of corporate companies like Volkswagen, Daimler, and Renault, and so on. So I'm not totally focused on sharing mobility. That's what to answer you more directly. I'm not an expert into sharing mobility. I will be addressing and working with many startups that are in the urban mobility. So it can be a data company, it can be an e-scooter, a two-wheelers company, or an e-bike company, or providing more or less end-to-end services to people or cities.
And Komegeleng is working on the bicycle industry, mobility with a bicycle, low, smooth, I don't know, small mobility, local mobility,
micro
with
mobility,
eco mobility, and also eco bicycle is the name of the project. So
okay.
it means maybe made with using waste. So okay. So maybe you saw something, some startups, and also but non-customers. I think the question is interesting. Maybe in all, and maybe not only on the mobility but digital. Have you seen some startups or projects supported by the European Union where there is clearly an understanding of hidden needs coming from excluded users, excluded customers? You see, where you reveal something new, not only on traditional offerings or standard offerings.
It's not super.
Scooters, bicycles. You saw some project about scooters, bicycles, or local.
Well, actually, at EIT Digital, we have supported a French startup from the city of Nantes, which is called Velco, and we helped them to raise 5 million euros. And what Velco do is that they
were finalists of the Brochure Awards.
Okay, yeah, totally. Yeah, actually, they connect bicycles to digital platforms. So they either work with manufacturers of bicycles, or they provide the connectivity plus the platform for, let's say, the Parisian region, so that they can monitor their fleet of 30,000 e-bikes all over the region. And so the need here is actually to detect if the bikes have been stolen or not, or if they are out of the zone where they are supposed to be staying, because these are shared e-bikes, but also, of course, to understand the usage of the e-bikes. And every time you manage and you maintain, you manage a fleet of vehicles.
Yeah, it's a solution.
You have to reposition. You have to reposition all the time, every day or every week. I don't know all the vehicles.
It's an integrated solution for fleet manager.
Yeah, totally.
For municipalities or for private companies managing a fleet of bicycle.
Yeah, and I guess yes, for the reason I suggested earlier in the discussion, it's great to have new technologies, new vehicles, new kind of everything, but materials are also an issue. It's not just about like carbon creation and minimization. It's also about trying to bring the same value without consuming too much materials. And whatever is related to second-hand goods and vehicles are part of that business is obviously something good. So I didn't see in France. So there's this French unicorn. They don't work in the mobility area. They refurbish smartphones and they resell the smartphones. So it's now a unicorn. It's called
Black market.
But
Yeah,
we can imagine that tomorrow. So we have Leboncoin in Estonia. There's a Vinted for the clothes. Leboncoin, they sell second-hand goods of everything, actually, from house to I don't know, sneakers, from shoes to homes. But we could imagine tomorrow to have the exact same business, but just focused on bikes, because the bike industry and the e-bike industry for the last 2 years has been booming in Europe, booming.
That's interesting. And Komogeleng, you want to react? You can open your microphone if you want. Yeah, but this second-hand market and maybe recycling. Maybe you could have a bicycle, made from other piece of bicycles.
Yeah, totally, of course.
And to make it maybe more.
Yeah, and this is something. Actually, there's a difference between male and females in Europe. It's on many subjects, on many usages, but also on the way they see sustainability as a whole. And women are very more sensitive to that. So, like Vinted is really living from most of the customers are women. I don't know about the smartphones. I'm not sure about that. But I guess maybe for bicycles, it's also something.
Black market. It's really, as we said, we talk about it with Anne, Anne Lebreton, because it's the interest is for the consumer to be able to be paid for any old mobile phone. Your mobile phone, even if it's broken, it always have a value, and you can always resell it. It's and it's a reward. It's an insight, money insight.
Yeah, and I'm saying that about the women also because there's some fact in Europe is that women work a little less than men, and men do own a car much more than women do, and they do use the car of the family much more than the women to go to work and to come back to work, whereas the women do use more like the public transportation or walk more, or they use more the other kind of
utilized transportation.
Public transportation, about the bike sharing and in two-wheelers sharing, it's more about men also. But let's say that all the other ones are more used by women. So there's a big split in the genders in the countries I've been studying, which are the Nordics, Germany, plus Singapore. I think that was in this study.
That's very interesting. I don't know if there's that division in South Africa. Maybe it's because we also don't have bike sharing. So there isn't a lot of bikes as well. Maybe. Also, I think related to safety and how women feel safe on the roads, walking, or biking.
That is, yeah. That's yeah. So in Europe, well, I guess it's everywhere in the world, unfortunately. But women are not safe when they travel.
Yeah.
And because of that, unconsciously, even if they have not been harassed or whatever, nothing happened to her. They know that, well, every trip, every move they will make in a city, they have to think about it before they go. So they choose, they imagine, okay, what's the best time in the day to go? What's the best way to travel also? But they really think about that much more than the men. That's a reality.
But are the bikes themselves built differently for men and women?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. And that's that. But well, that's something that is. There are discussions about that. But no, no, it's still. Well, there may be some brands, but it's not mainstream. Yeah.
And some reactions also.
And there's also something when I've read that study. You know, when a crime is committed from someone to another, well, usually, well, criminals are more male than female, and crime is very related to, is very correlated to boring times. When people get bored, they commit more crimes. That's a reality. I've discussed that with a friend of mine who was working in refugee camps. And when you install the camp, at the beginning, everybody's super busy to plant a tent, to find water, to whatever. And then there's a curve of activity that decreases, and then crimes augment. And then you have to do something. So either you hire some security guards, or he told me when you install the Wi-Fi and you give some smartphones to people, wow, criminality decreases again because people have found a new idea with this Wi-Fi and smartphone. Maybe they are doing business or they are discussing. Or
active, yeah, they have.
So, and it's the same with the mobility in the cities. Women will be more harassed. For example, at bus station. At the bus station, you're just like this. You get bored, and well, many male people harass the women at that time. So maybe there's something also to find here. It's terrible to say, but it's very correlated to poorness.
Interesting. We have Rezib. Rezib, you want to open your microphone? Rezib, on the chat.
Yeah, infrastructure is obviously something.
Hi, Alban.
Hi.
And everybody else. Yeah, I was just listening to what you were saying, and I really do agree in terms of safety. I mean, even with normal exercising, you need to have a partner for you to jog around the block. You need to have a partner. So it means if you are cycling as well, you need to have someone. And it's only now, maybe in Pretoria and maybe Joburg, we've got just a few lanes whereby lanes that are dedicated for cyclists. So safety is a major issue, especially for me. And I've seen a lot of men in this country, they ride bicycles, usually security guards and people that are going to work around. I see male, no females. Thank you.
And there's also the other security issue is bike versus cars, because cars bump into bicycles. And what studies show is that the more the more bikes you have in a city, the more the car drivers are becoming super careful. So to get protected, you need more and more and more bikes.
It's part of the culture.
So every
It's-
time you add friction to the usage of cycling, you get less cyclers, and so the security of the remaining cyclers decreases. So in France, there was last week, they wanted to make mandatory for cyclers, bikers to wear a helmet. And all the lobby of bikers, they said, no, we don't want this law because this law does not come from bikers. It comes from the car industry. And it was. And the law has not been passed. So it's not mandatory in Paris to drive a bike with a helmet on the head.
That's where it started, is what we call in America jaywalking. It was the auto industry that said, and the same thing is from a feminist point of view is that it's the subtle changes that we're trying to figure out in the sixth pass as we see. The subtle changes of, wow, I accepted that.
Yeah.
And now
you can challenge the existing rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also the bikers actually, they didn't want this law because they analyzed the data from the accidents of bikers, and usually, well, I don't know why, but the heads are not usually the main thing. Usually, if people is hurt with a bike, is because a truck is coming on their left, and then they turn right. They don't see the bicycles, and they just run on the bike. So even if you have a helmet, the situation is about the same. So yeah.
And I think that's a big part of what we work with is the small little nudges, these Chicago School of Understanding of small nudges of economics is that's like when you, for example, in Holland, you're taught to unclip your your seatbelts into before you put your door open, because there are so many people who are maimed by someone just putting the door open. Small nudges that we need to think about. And that's a very big part of a value proposition. Small things, but they matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, sure.
So.
Sure. Maybe Laila, maybe you want to react on the digital. I know you have a very good overview about what the digital in general is doing and with mobile app, and so do you see some time trends, some emotional, functional appeals of some new approach on this digital in any industry?
To an extent, you know, what's going to happen in the future has kind of already started happening. Unfortunately, full disclosure, this is not my area of expertise. I don't know much about mobility.
No, but digital, well, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, as obviously we see in the news and as we see in person actually these days as well, there is this trend of trying to make we're moving towards more like in the previous discussion you all already discussed like electric vehicles and vehicles that are way more sustainable. And I was actually reading about 3D printed buses, which are becoming a little bit more. They're actually in the US. I believe it's a project with University of New York and Buffalo University, I think. They're called Ollie buses, and they're like 3D printed electric buses that are autonomous, so they work on their own. And you know, so I think the shift towards kind of more sustainable, but also these buses, by the way, are like apart from being obviously sustainable because they use electricity, they also use far less energy to create and far less materials to make. And so I'm not in the US. I don't know, someone in the comments said I'm in the US. I'm not in the US. I'm based in Paris, France. Apologies. But
I'm apologies from the US.
But I think, like, again, in my mind, that's, I think, where we're moving towards.
And your cloud-based system, how does it help basically the rest of the world? I mean, we've got what, 6 billion people, only 3 billion have access to your cloud. How do we make that? I mean, for me, the cloud is a great thing because I don't need a hard drive anymore. And that is just kind of a very, very white person's luxury. So what about the rest of the world? What are you guys doing with that?
So so I work within the startup programs team, and what we're trying to do is we provide our cloud services, and our cloud English. we provide our cloud services to startups. So we have, I believe, over 200 startups currently within our programs, and we are onboarding more this month as well. I believe they have the selection committee this week, actually. So they're going to have the new kind of cohort of startups come in. And the idea is that we provide them with like cloud credits, or like these codes, these voucher codes, which they can then use on our website to access our cloud.
Is that codes?
Yeah, codes.
Codes.
And so, I mean, in a couple of, I don't know, minutes or like, you know, a while, we will just,
Pascal.
Exactly, we'll give more explanation on this as well. But we provide them with codes, and then they can access our cloud services. And so we have like 2 startup programs. So we have one for early stage startups, so those that are not too big and that don't really have a huge need for cloud just yet. And then we have a growth stage program, and so that's for startups that are bigger and need more cloud, need more cloud. And obviously, you know, for more technical details, if anybody wants them, you're more than welcome to send me an email or message me in the chat here, and then I can put you in contact with like the technical people in the company, the cloud experts as we call them, and you can have
but it's planned. I think Pascal will explain all of that, because it will be integrated in the program after the jury. But Pascal will explain it in 20 minutes. You will support startups will be selected by the jury in the development with experts, and we'll talk. Maybe let's finish here the 20 minutes about on our objective here to share. But what are maybe the time trends, the future you see in the digital? What is your opinion, Laila and Jean-François? Because Jean-François, you were involved in digital long time. So both of you, what are your vision of this future for the digital? We talk about metaverse, Facebook, and so on. But do you believe in that? And what is the future and the new usings? The new what would be the future for societies in the world?
So just about the metaverse. So 20 years ago, there was.
What are the trends? In which trend do you believe? In which trend you don't believe?
Yeah, for me, well, I know. Well, we never know, because that's a question when you ask us to speculate. So, and when we speculate, usually. But
you feel what
we are wrong. So I'm going to take the risk.
You feel
no. Yeah, just about the metaverse for me. Well, it's just brought by brought by Facebook, and it looks like what
it's just marketing.
This Second Life software that was built 20 years ago. So I'm not totally sure about that, but the big trends that I see is that we are gaining more and more skills via the video game industry. The video game industry is huge. So they make the video game industry, I think that they make something like 3 or 4 times more revenue than the whole movie industry. It was the numbers from last year. So it's huge now. And now, and we are now moving from a video game industry just for leisure to video game skills that we use in other verticals. So for example, at the IDEATION Accelerator, we have supported a startup from Iceland to raise 20 million euros. And the use case is this: they sell it's like an app development startup studio. They go to pharma labs. Every time a pharma lab wants to put on the market a new medicine, they will always have the same issue, because at the end of the day, they never know if the patient is having really the medicine in the good proportion at the right moment of the day and so on. And also, when you give medicine to someone for a chronic disease like obesity or asthma or whatever the chronic disease, usually chemicals are not magic. And if you just use the chemicals produced by the pharma lab, it will not work. You always have to change some habits. And so this company, they help the pharma labs to both understand if the patient do take the medicines at the right moments in the right quantities, but also they help the patient to change some of their habits. So for obesity, it's pretty easy to understand. You have an app where you can count the number of steps you are doing in the day, the number of floors you have escalated during the day, and so on and so on. But you could imagine other, they use their video games, skills to make the people addict and really engage on the app, which is usually it's not the case when you use an app that has been coded by corporates. It's usually super shitty. So,
but one of the first Blue Ocean Award winners, again, it was a startup doing using the Wii video game, from Nintendo, to make practicing the retired people for their sport, for everything. They just change the video game, they transform it, and they make them happy to make sport.
So totally. So with the pandemic, we have seen that we needed more and more digital tools, and we use the digital tools. And for the education industry, for example, there are more and more startups diving into that with these skills into making people addict in practicing something. And I'm pretty sure it will change everything in the education industry. We will still need the teachers, of course. There's never a big replacement, of an industry by another. But these teachers are going to be augmented by tons of tools that they will be unable to use.
But what your idea, like especially I'm American, but I live in Spain. And the idea that you can go to the pharmacist and say, I feel this, and they give you something. If you get Starbucks worked because they took the idea of you could shake coffee, combining it with the American idea of you can sit and enjoy yourself for hours. What you mentioned with the pharmacist is that I can get what I need, you know, the breakthrough of a European pharmacist, and I can get it now at a good price, which is the American part of it, is that I just need my Xanax, for example. And that's something to really explore. I think you have something there, and you kind of talked over it too much, but there's a very good strategy there.
Yeah, maybe Laila, you want to react on these ideas? Gamification, it's something I'm sure you have seen a lot and in your experience and used in different industries to make people addicted.
Yeah, the Starbucks of pharmacy.
To be honest, I'm not sure I can add on much to that. They've said it all. But yeah, I do agree with what they're saying. I don't think there's much I can add on to it.
And just to finish on that, this gamification that is, you know, moving from the leisure gaming industry of the leisure to something else. There's this Chinese e-commerce brand website, whatever, that is called Shine. So I think it's SHEIN, I think. And all the teenagers in France, they are using this e-commerce to buy some super cheap clothes. Mm-hmm. And it's full, the website is full, well, the users or the prospects or the customers are totally engaged on this, on something that is more than just an e-commerce website, because there's lots of gamification everywhere. You can win some credits because you comment, you make a review on a clothes, a sweaters or whatever, a t-shirt. Well, actually the second strength of this company is that they own the production factories in China. So they are totally end-to-end. Mm-hmm. They are just from the production, the design, production, the e-commerce website, and they engage with the community. They can do the whole loop. And it's like, it's been booming in France. It's incredible.
It's a game-like experience.
Yeah, it's a holistic or systemic or a global exhaustive experience. It's a Nietzschean experience.
I mean, a niche is great, but is there a market in your niche? Like a bigger market outside of your niche? That's what I was wondering.
You will play some guitar for us now, Jason?
Yeah, that's when I'm nervous, I play guitar.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. No, it's okay. It's okay. You know, we know you were quite. You are recovering from COVID. It's not very easy for you. So maybe we'll have in a few minutes. Pascal who will join us. Some last ideas or some sharings you want, maybe about digital or other mobility or other industry here, energy, education. Maybe education, we can talk about education, the digital and education, edtech, it's a lot. It's a big thing. Don't know.
I apologize for interrupting, but
Pascal
Condamine will not be able to come today. He's in another meeting just right now, and is running over a little bit. But I will take over for him once time comes, and I'll present everything. So
okay. So good. So let's maybe close on this part. If you and the entrepreneurs and coaches here, you want to react or ask question to Jean-François and Laila. I see Canayo is here, Matoke, Empo.
No, but digital education is huge. I mean, the number of unicorns in India now just around education is enormous. I don't know what value they're creating, but the VCs seem to like it, because in India, we can take any product and say there's a potential market of 300 million. And that's something that the investors like. But there's a number doing good work, and there's a number that have just had access to so much funds that they've acquired a whole number of smaller units, overlaid a digital backbone to it, and no one's making any money, but they're out there. But digital does help. Between the gamification and the access to the cloud, there's a lot of things that can be done. But
Jean-François, Laila, you see some startups or some project you saw on this education edtech field? No. Recently, we in the press. In the news, there was a big visibility from Meeting Class, the former Blue Ocean Award winner, and it's a low-tech solution, low-tech site. They address people who cannot afford, lessons at home, courses at home after class, and they make groups, making a group of 6. It divide the price per student by 6, makes affordable for everybody, and it increases the collective intelligence in the group. So it increases the knowledge and the value of the courses. So it's one example in this education. Using this sharing economy, sharing thing.
But also, if you want to take a step back on that, we could say that Google and YouTube, that is owned now for 10 years now by Google, are the biggest schools or universities in the world, especially YouTube. It's free.
YouTube,
Well, actually, it's paid by advertisement. Some people are really paid by advertisement.
Premium,
they generate enough traffic. And I use YouTube for fitness, but I guess there are people that use the Khan Academy in the US. It was tested, let's say, just by uploading some videos of courses of mathematics on YouTube, and the guy realized, well, it works. There's traction. Let's build something out of that. So
And also the same for LinkedIn. LinkedIn is developing a very big business with education.
Yeah. Well, it's been bought by Microsoft, so I'm not sure.
It will not work.
It's been bought too early. Yeah, I think they should have let them, scale.
Mature.
When they will change for another provider than Microsoft, it will work.
There was this tool called SlideShare. It was bought by LinkedIn, then Microsoft, and SlideShare just disappeared.
But on LinkedIn, what is very interesting is that they make a direct link between the knowledge, the education, and the label, the validation of the skill on your profile, on your curriculum. So it's a big.
It's true.
It's very. It's value chain integration. And it makes a direct value for you. So okay, so maybe we take a little break. You want 5-minute break, and we come back with Laila to introduce the SCALEWAY support package. You and Jean-François, if you want to join back, of course, you are more than welcome.
Yeah, maybe I'll come back.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. See you all in 5 minutes, and we'll share from SCALEWAY, Laila will explain to us exactly what is it about. So maybe we'll come back. We'll continue. Just I think as I see, we are only 10 now, only 10 participants. I think because of load shedding, receive some messages. Maybe I propose if you want, Laila, maybe to come back tomorrow morning, because I think it would be good that you share this with all of us. And Jean-François, if you want to come back tomorrow morning for the Laila's presentation, and maybe Pascal will be available, I don't know. Because at CPT we have only 6 participants. So, I don't know, Laila, if you are here. Ah, yes. Hi.
Will the participants that are here today be here tomorrow as well?
Yes. We have it's the same session, same participants. It's on 3-day session. But
I see.
yeah, there will be or because of load shedding, and it's the end of the day. Tomorrow morning there will be 15 or here. Yeah, there are only 6 left here today, right now. So I propose, tomorrow morning at so it's 9 South African time. It's 8 a.m. Paris time.
8 a.m. No, it's because I'm actually also a student, so I'm working as an apprentice here in SCALEWAY, and tomorrow I'm in school. So I will not be able to take that up, but I can speak with Pascal. If it's possible, could you maybe make this a little bit later?
Yes. Tell me which time you prefer. What is your...
Hold on. Just 1 second. Actually, that's exactly what happened today as well, because I read the times on the invitation for 4 p.m. So I was going to join at 4. So I just joined out of curiosity earlier, and then it just so happened that I had to be there.
But normally it should adapt to your time. It should be on the agenda. It should take into account your time, your local time, because when we send the agenda, it's set for Africa, South Africa time.
Oh, I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, it's strange. It's strange.
That's why I joined late. So I apologize for that.
I understand. Yeah.
Would it be possible to join? So how long is the event tomorrow?
The whole day.
It's from the same. Same.
Okay. Well, I think maybe 8:30 would be fine. 8:30 a.m. I will speak to Pascal, and if there's any changes, I'll speak to him just right now, and then I will send you an email if there needs to be any changes. But I think for now, 8:30 a.m. Paris time is fine.
8:30. You mean 8:30 Paris time? Okay. Okay. Well, we will be. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, we'll maybe stop the discussion. Maybe, if it will be maybe 10, at the pause. So we don't stop the discussion. It will be better, but 10 a.m. 11 South African time, 10 a.m. Paris time. No, it's not good.
Pascal's in a meeting just before and just after, so I don't think we have time in the middle.
Okay. So let's say, if you can before, it's okay, but 8:30, it's okay.
I will ask Pascal, and I will message you as soon as email you as soon as I can.
And maybe you can say a few words for the participants who are still here, and for Jean-François, just to give the...
I mean, if you want, I can do like the whole presentation right now, and then Pascal can just do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, if you want.
I mean, maybe... I have the presentation and I have the time, so.
Okay. Maybe, quite maybe in 5 minutes is possible, you think? We should.
We can be quick, of course we can. So we do actually have a proper presentation. I don't exactly know how to use Zoom though. So
you need to click on share the screen. On the bottom of the window, you have a screen sharing in English. Screen sharing in the middle of the screen. At the bottom, there is a. You see? Yes. You see the button? Screen sharing. You see the button screen sharing?
Yeah, I just
you just click on it and it will share your screen.
Hold on, it's close the presentation because I had to open it through the settings. As you can see, I'm very technical. Apologies.
Maybe
Louis, who is here to.
It's Louis. His name is Louis.
Louis.
Ah, Louis. Hi, Louis.
In Spain is Luis.
Luis, yeah, the Spanish version.
But now it's come Louis. En français.
Yeah, Louis in French. Yeah. Ludwig in German. Yeah, Matoke, say hi to Louis.
Hi, Louis. But I just wanted to ask, being attending today's session, I realized they've discussed quite a number of industries, but the housing one was not included. Should we be expecting anyone to touch on that on the next coming 2 days, or is there a way to work around it? Because we also have some sort of our questions of our own related to the industry, thought maybe we'll have another expert to assist in that regard.
Your industry, it's housing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you will be able to discuss it tomorrow morning, because we'll have a formal winner of the Blue Ocean Awards is connected to this industry. We can, and also it will be we'll try to. And we'll try to have remind us, and feel free to open the microphone and ask for insight and to ask your question directly about housing. So tomorrow morning at 9.
All right. No, thank you so much.
And also we can have this discussion also at the summary. The synthesis we'll have on Wednesday morning.
Yes.
We'll have tomorrow at 11. Yeah, tomorrow at 11 with Laila, the friend from Jason. We can also complete the industry we were not covering enough, like housing. So remind us, tomorrow morning at 9 and tomorrow at 11:15 for the synthesis. Okay.
All right, no problem. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. At least we can have an overview and a discussion about this housing industry with all the entrepreneurs and coaches, and I'm sure some of them have something to say. And George told me we are experts in the real estate because we have supported several students and entrepreneurs in a big program we made from some months ago on this field. But it was for France, right? A little, but we can discuss it. Yeah, sure, we'll tomorrow. Yeah, sorry, Laila. Sorry.
It's all right. Take your time. So I finally got it working.
Good.
So I'll just present to you really quickly what the Scaleway programs are and what we're going to offer with for the entrepreneurs and the startups within the Blue Ocean Corner program. So as I told you before, we're a European cloud provider. We're based in France. We have over 21 years of experience within the industry. We're present throughout, like all of our services are actually present in 160 countries worldwide. And we have 6 data centers, and we're really flexible, and we're cost effective, and we're reliable and secure, and we are very sustainable. So we have 2 startup programs. So the first is the growth stage program, and the second is the early stage program. And the idea is that for both programs, we'll give you voucher codes, cloud credits, and we're going to give you a dedicated.
So that's a question. What is the subject? So, what is the subject? I mean, who is the starter? Is it you? Is it somebody else?
So we provide the services, the cloud services for startups. And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail of that a little bit later as well, but they can be startups, technically any field, as long as you have a relation or a very strong kind of use of technology within your product or service or whatever you're offering. So we prefer tech-based, but we are sector agnostic, so it can be any sector. You know,
I love the word agnostic.
Okay.
So you might have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I've got an idea for something.
Okay. Do you want to share it now or later?
No, do I fall into this? Do I fall into your?
If you only have an idea.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that would be very, very early stage, and that's not something right now we can support, but we are actually working on something so that soon enough we could. For now, that would be something you have to have some sort of MVP, some sort of product that we can say, okay, something on the market. So for now,
cool.
unfortunately, we would not be able to support that.
Okay, that helps me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so we support startups which are currently within the pre-seed to Series A stages, although we do make exceptions a few times. So the growth stage program is a 1-year program where we will give up to 36,000 euros in cloud credits. And this will be spread across each month. So I believe that comes out to, I think, 3,000 euros cloud credits every single month. As well as obviously, you know, dedicated account manager, access to master classes and webinars, and a lot of different perks. And then the 6-month program was the early stage program. So that's 6 months, and the amount of credits you get are less. So that will be, I believe, 600 euros of cloud credits every single month. Again, access to webinars and masterclasses, and you have your dedicated account manager. Here we prefer pre-seed to seed, so much smaller startups. So as I mentioned previously, our startups are sector agnostic, so that just means that we will support you regardless of the field that you work in. But we're very international, so we're in, I believe, over 80, our startup programs are in over 80 countries. Which is really cool for us, and we're expanding. So hopefully that number changes very, very soon. We work in batches. So every month between the 15th of one month and the 15th of the next, we accept applications from startups and entrepreneurs. And then on the 15th, we have what is called a pre-selection committee, I believe. And that's where Pascal, Condamine, our head of startup programs, as well as a cloud solution architect, and a few other people sit together and they go through all of the applications, and then they decide what applications go through to the selections committee. And here we have our CEO and our president, and obviously Pascal and the VP of sales, I believe, who all sit together and make the final call of what startups go into which program. As I mentioned, again, this is something I mentioned previously, we are already working with over 200 startups in our programs. And that's a number that's ever increasing. So the idea is for partners such as Blue Ocean Corners that you lead the way with Scaleway by your side. So we believe that, you know, when we have partnerships, it's about more than just, you know, giving the cloud credits and just kind of, you know, saying, oh, you fend for yourself. It's like, you know, we're going to help you, and we're going to help you grow and reach the goals that you set for yourselves. And we do this through, you know, this exclusive set of perks that we change and we customize per partner. And so for Scaleway, you know, why would you want to join us? So we are based in Europe. So all of our data centers are based in Europe, which means we are GDPR compliant. And we're very sustainable. So actually, of our six data centers, all six are very, like, I think 100% carbon neutral. And we're actually data center 5, which is based in Paris, is using, I believe it's called adiabatic technology. So it's to do with water-based technology, which means that that's one of the most efficient data centers. So we compute more and we burn less. It's very efficient. And obviously, as I said, we have a huge global community. So if your startup chooses to join our programs through this Blue Ocean Corner, obviously you'll get cloud credits, but you'll also get to test and demo new products and support the growth. Their growth. Obviously, as I said, lots of technical support, lots of business and entrepreneurial support, exposure within our startup ecosystem. So not only on our social medias as well, but also on our Slack. And we do have podcasts as well. And you'll have access to online dedicated events. We have lots of events all the time. It's a bit nerve-wracking sometimes because there's just so many. And we also offer monthly office hours and dedicated joint events, which would be like Blue Ocean Corner X Scaleway events. These are just, I don't know if you can see this, but these are just some of the partners we have currently. So these are across Europe, and these are increasing. We've actually recently added in 2 Indian partners, of which I will soon add into this presentation as well. So this is also an ever increasing page. We're going to need a bigger page soon.
Ever increasing page is one of the best marketing taglines I've ever heard.
Appreciate it. So startups obviously love us. These are just a few ruse. So with Blue Ocean Corner, what we're going to do is, for all of the entrepreneurs who are interested and all of the startups who are interested, we are going to be offering you an exclusive voucher code, which it has to be processed, but I will send it very, very soon to Abin and Jason, and they can forward to all of you. And it's going to be worth 400 cloud credits for now. And what we're going to do, hold on. Yeah, that's very important if you need. But it's going to be worth 400 euros of cloud credit. Oh, don't know what just happened there. Oh my gosh. 400 euros of cloud credits, and as well as that, we're going to provide each separate startup an hour of office hours. So that will be with our either Pascal Condamine himself or our startup programs managers. We have 2 currently, and so they will give you mentoring and help, and it's really, really useful. I've had the privilege of watching them do it once, and it's very useful. You can ask lots of questions, get to know, our programs, how to best use them, how to be super, super efficient with us, and as a startup on your own, how to go best using the cloud services that we provide. And then once the jury for the Blue Ocean Corners take place, those startups that the startups that make it through, we are going to actually offer them a chance to be directly onboarded within our early stage program. So you won't have to go through the selections committee. As soon as the Blue Ocean's jury finalizes the startups, we will take them and directly onboard them, obviously, if you're interested, within our early stage program. So yeah, but if you have any more questions, my email's on the screen. You're more than welcome to send me an email. I will be happy to answer anything. Or if you have more technical questions, I'll be happy to put you in contact with anybody in the company who can help you. I hope that was useful for all of you.
Sorry, I was muted. Laila, that was great. I it's been 2 years of doing things online, and I still don't know how to unmute myself. No, that was fantastic, and you did a great job.
Thank you. Very nervous.
The thing is I'm an introvert by nature, and when I deliver things, I deliver them fast because I just stop it. But you did a great job. We can work together, I think.
I would love to.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. George?
Yeah, no, I think it's, oh, am I? No, I'm not muted. Great.
Fuck you.
Jason, the ladies present.
No, sorry.
No, I think it's really good that you actually give access to people to ask a lot of questions that they might not have even thought of till they're in the conversation. And it's personalized input rather than this, everybody sharing. And, and I think might be useful if you give people examples of projects you're already running. It might trigger thoughts among the entrepreneurs here, because otherwise, it's if they see the kind of projects you're, especially if you can find that not too tech projects, so they get an idea of the kind of things that they could be given access to. Because sometimes a very tech project is very country specific and tech specific. So if you can find from your 200, maybe 4 or 5 that are a bit more people centered, it would help people think, my opinion.
So Pascal, actually, when he does this tomorrow, if you want, I can ask him to give you some better examples because I'm not in contact.
No, I wasn't expecting you to give it now. It's something that you could send on to Albo and Jason, and that might also trigger thoughts with us on how to help people go forward.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not putting you on the hot spot. No, but it would give people an idea of what can happen with SCALEWAY.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I will.
Exactly,
In fact, I'm going to forward this presentation as well to them. So I might look into some of the examples and add them as well.
Yeah, that will be good. And the names of the 2 Indian people you're working with?
So one of them is called Stirring Minds.
Okay.
And the other is called, I'm not sure if this is an acronym or a word, but it's SAWO Labs or SAWO Labs.
Okay, I'll have a look. Yeah, okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
What are you a student of? Sorry, Jason.
Done? Student of?
I am studying, I'm doing my master's here in international management.
Okay.
I did a master's of international relations, which led me to doing global nuclear arms negotiations.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it helped me in my life, especially with my wife.
Albo.
But yeah, so I think you've got a very good product there, and we can work with it. And thank you so much. I mean, we talked, what, 2 days ago? And you just snapped on, and that was great.
Yeah, it's very partnership oriented. That's what is great. A very good mindset, I think, in the SCALEWAY. But I know Jan.
It's a great experience.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks a lot. Sorry,